our national needs, regional needs, and obviously international needs. That's all SDGs are about. And that is what I am here, not paid by the UN, but as a member of Mount Kenya University fraternity, sharing with you our story, our journey, and hoping that you'll appreciate what we have seen. I will skip this, but it's the background of is what Unite does. There is a form that is made, that provided online, that you fill. Once you fill, you submit in 2 weeks. It's free of charge forum. You submit, and they will be able to give you a number. And then every year, they give you a template to say what you have achieved. In giving that template, you'll be doing more or less what Times Higher Education today of UK is doing. It is ranking universities on SDGs performance. This is what UNI has been doing. So universities have to promote and showcase their activities annually in terms of SDGs performance. There are many benefits. I will not go through this, but kindly, I am sure the Secretariat will circulate. I only want to mention one benefit, that it's good to be known and to be visible. One of them, and this is the last one that I put there because I would want to talk about it, is the activities of your research will be showcased by UNI in their website, in their newsletters, and they have a wide subscription. This is one of our MKU's research activities, where the School of Education is working with the Kenya prisons, and we supported this. We provided this information to UNI, and they asked for more details because you give in brief, and when you give to the big details, you can see it's actually one photograph, but it was lengthy, so I sliced it into two. It comes on the UNI platform website. So this is one of the visibility and opportunity that you get. You have a conference, they will announce it for you, and many others. We might be members, but we are not utilizing that opportunity. I want to read this communication by Kimun, and after that I'll skip all the rest so that Chair will not be very annoyed. By sharing ideas across borders and disciplines, we can find solutions to the interconnected problems that cause so much suffering. Climate change is not just an environmental threat. It is closely tied to poverty. Poverty is not just about jobs. It is directly related to food security. Food security has an impact on health. Health affects generations of children. Children hold the key to our future, and education can lead to progress on all these fronts. This was said on 18th of November 2010 when Secretary General was launching the UNI. And whatever you do, I'm sure it's contained in that statement. And therefore, if I was to be told by Chair to stop, I think I've communicated. However, let me showcase what we have done in MKU in 1 minute, Chair, 1 minute. We joined in 2017, and in 2021, having given our report, we were approached to be a hub for SDG number 10 on reducing inequalities. 2024, the hub position became very competitive amongst members, and we were told to reapply to be hub chair. A hub chair is a hub that has very many universities. We applied, and this year, Vice Chancellor was invited in an online meeting to receive the award of being the chair of SDG number 9 on industry, innovation, and infrastructure. And the photographs there is what appeared before the end of last year when we were UNI SDG Hub 10 on reducing inequalities. This is what is happening today. It is still there, but now we are SDG 9 Hub Chair, 2025 to 2029. And what is it that we've done? If you check our mission as a university, it is talking about SDGs, promotion of research and innovation, mission, world-class university in research innovation for greater transformation and sustainable development goals. How many times have the word innovation been mentioned here? And it will continue to be mentioned. The two of them are well captured in our vision and mission. And I will also avoid that because I know you receive that, but I'm saying this because I had made a promise to the chair. Chair, this is one of the activities where JICA has established a Malaria Elimination Institute of Tropical Medicine at MKU. The Vice Chancellor and the Chair of the Council are the two gentlemen there at the forefront when we were opening it. We have Innovation and Incubation Center that was sponsored by European Commission in EU, European Commission in 2022 through Erasmus Plus program. The same one has led a lot of our students to move across the globe in competing with their innovations with a lot of good successes. We also hold annual Research Innovation Week, and this is one of them that we are showcasing. And talk of infrastructure. It is not easy to establish what would be a maritime academy. MKU has a maritime academy. Noting the issue of unemployment, we thought of following the words of Mabogne and Chan Kim, those people who have read the book on Blue Ocean Strategy. We stopped helping our youth to create jobs here because marine economy and the environment has more jobs. That is where we are in the country. The infrastructure, the innovation, and creativity, and everything that goes with allows us to celebrate the recognition by UN when we got this opportunity. But we have others that last year we were contacted to contribute to a book chapter by NAFSA on how we align our activities on SDGs. And it is captured, and the book is available when I also circulate the book details. And this is the prison model that also MKU has presented tablets preloaded with education materials to inmates. And this was the Vice Chancellor presenting to the prison's boss. We also offer scholarships. Some of the cases, Kenyans who are here, they know of one student, one person who wanted to study medicine and could not because did not afford it, even in the public sector school, universities. And he's offered to sell his kidney. The university sent out to him, said, keep your kidneys, full scholarship for medicine. Now he is a practicing doctor. That's one amongst many others. We also have an innovation and entrepreneurship hub where, for instance, also have integrated technologies in ICT, and we are doing a lot of other activities within the ICT sector, as well as we have, and all of these are used in what we do in our teaching. Finally, also academia, industry activities, and so on. But let me finish saying that when you read this document, especially toward the end, you'll see the commitment by UN in helping you achieve all that you have mentioned in a better way, value addition. So, as I finish, I'm telling you, kindly, the last statement here is that come over, join me, join us in the hub chair so that we can talk to each other and make the world a better place for everybody. Thank you. My submission.
Thank you, Professor Wanderi. Thank you so much for that. I think we got two models of how, two case studies of how in the process of developing a pipeline of innovative leaders. On one side, we saw a model that is completely experiential. It's not for theory, it's completely experiential. And on this side, we see how the SDGs can be the anchor of your development of innovative and maybe even entrepreneurial leaders. Can I now move to the third section and call the panel to come forward? I would like to invite the panelists, Mr. Amos Fitutundile, Fitundida. Thank you. Sylvia Mukasa. Dr. Philip Pande. Dr. Victor K. Muposhi. And Dr. Pofeit Dangobo. Please take your seat. Can we move this? Okay. I think we'll have to do the heavy lifting. Thank you, panelists. I would like to ask you to introduce yourselves very briefly before we go to the questions. The way we're going to do this is we're going to go through each of the questions and have responses from you. But please start by introducing yourselves. Start on the far end.
Thank you, Professor. I'm called Amos Fitundinda, and I work with the government of Rwanda, the Ministry of Public Service and Labor. I head the Department of Strategic Capacity Development. I came in to stand in for my colleague Francois Ngoboka, who is the Chief Skills Officer. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sylvia Mukasa, and I am founder, CEO of Global X Investments Limited and Global X Innovation Labs. And we exist to make innovations happen. And one of the things that drove us to start this company was because we saw some of these gaps that we are talking about, gaps between industry, academia, and generally what goes on in the market, especially when addressing innovations, digital transformation, and entrepreneurship and technology as a whole. So I'm glad to be here, and I'll be sharing in a minute. Thank you.
Good afternoon to all of you. My name is Philip Pande, the Executive Director and co-founder Corporate Career Academy, which is the largest partner in linking academia and industry in support of transitioning from campus to career, or basically training to industry. We are based in Nairobi, but work across East Africa with a lot of partnership with the continental body, including the African Union, in which we are champions of the 1 million next level, which seeks to provide opportunities for the youth in 5 thematic areas, which we are calling the 4 E's plus H. So education, employment, entrepreneurship, engagement, and health and well-being. I also serve in a different role as the special envoy for All Africa Association for SMEs, particularly fostering the implementation of the youth and women and partly digital protocols, supporting youth and women on the continent to grab the opportunities. It's a pleasure, and I must thank the ICA for this particular opportunity to share our experiences with such a good mix of audience. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Parfait Yongabo. I work with Rwanda Polytechnic as the division manager for institutional development, applied research and consultancy. Rwanda Polytechnic is the only public polytechnic in Rwanda. So we have 8 colleges around the country. And I invite you to visit our exhibition booth to know more about what we are doing in terms of innovation. Thank you.
My name is Victor Mposhi. I am the head of academics with the School of Wildlife Conservation with African Leadership University. I think you know our mission and motto is that we are there to raise innovative ethical entrepreneurial leaders in Africa and beyond. I think most of the things we will talk as the discussion proceeds. Thank you.
Thank you, panelists. Let's start with the first question. Can I please ask that we summarize our notes instead of giving presentations? The first question is how to harness the role of incubation centers, innovation hubs, and accelerators in universities. We'll start with you. We'll start from this side and go that way this time.
Thank you, Prof. I'll start by highlighting my own perspectives based on the interactions and what I've had, seen, and know. And then I'll also go back to what Africa Leadership University does. So generally, I think it is important to appreciate and understand that if we are to harness incubators, innovation hubs, we need to start by thinking about the concept of knowledge generation as institutions, as universities. Because universities should generate knowledge, but we believe that knowledge is not enough on its own. Therefore comes the idea of innovation and commercialization of those innovations. How can we do it without losing focus of the role and mandate of academic institutions of creating knowledge and ensuring that we contribute to the sustainable development goals and economic growth of the countries in which we are found? So in terms of innovation, innovation cannot come without knowledge. And I think that is the bottom line. I've heard people talk about it, but knowledge starts first, and then innovation follows, commercialization follows, comes the idea of innovation hubs. And in this case, how do we harness that? There is no need for us to reinvent the wheel, because there are others who have done it. Stanford have done it. It's part of the Silicon Valley. They have their own form of innovation hub, which has grown and become the hub, if not of innovation, tech giants, startups that are incubated there, that are financed and funded by institutions that you find within the Silicon Valley. And in this case, how do we harness and tap into that experience and knowledge that is already there and is documented without reinventing the wheel as African institutions? And I think the challenge that we are having and that I've seen is that we want to be called the pioneers in something. We can't be pioneers in everything, but we can perfect and adapt the situations and the things that we want based on the environment and based on the needs and the challenges that we have as countries, as Africa. So we have that challenge as Africa that we need to work together in order for us to have these incubation centers within our universities. How do we do it and how do we fund it? The model is there. We have seen DIT talking about how they have implemented their model and how they are doing it. But there are many other models that are out there that we can actually tap into and look into and customize to fit our own needs and desires. I think I'll end there. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, I think the previous speaker has really enhanced, emphasized on the need for the incubation centers. But coming back to the question from the moderator, how do we harness the incubation centers within the university? So I think one needs to really to take a pragmatic approach to it, and they delve into the inner workings of the innovation, the incubation centers as the innovation space in the academic setting. Because the way they do operate, I believe that they're a bit different from the non-academic incubators. And then how do we do that? I think that's the critical issue to look at, because when you look at their functions, they're not that a bit different from the other incubation centers, but the environment where they operate is a bit different. And we need for us to see if we got it right in setting up the incubation centers that can offer at least the key services that are needed, providing the students with the right working place for them really to concentrate on their ideas, develop them, but also consider the key role of interaction and the co-creation, give them the space for co-creation. And one of the speakers in the morning mentioned something very important, having the facility that will allow the innovators to prototype their products. So I think the academic incubation centers would consider to have very specific maker spaces or design factories where the student will be developing their product. Then probably when they reach the level of standardization of certification, then they go to the other government facilities around, or they collaborate with the industry. So then having that setting is, I would say, that will be the entry point to that, but we also need to have the proper management of the incubation center. We have seen most of the universities rushing to put a position of incubation managers part of their structure without necessarily even having the incubation center in itself. And so then if you have managed to put the function on your structure, you have the facility, then how do you manage it? I think that's a critical point, because we'll get the better result if you have the proper management of that. And the proper management will involve having the people with the right capacity to do that, but also having sort of support mechanism with a very concise programmatic approach to support the incubators. I liked the idea from the E4 Impact about how they recruit incubators. I think the recruitment of incubators should be intentional and competitive, because it's not everybody who needs to go to the incubation center, because we won't have resources to incubate all the students. You need to incubate those who are promising to succeed. But again, although you go with the capacity of the incubation center, but there is another key element of how do you support others who didn't make it to the competition, because that's key, and that takes me to the key aspect that is very important for the incubation center. How do we prepare the future incubators? Because we need to have, like, I would say, the nursery where we get the incubators nursery, where we get the incubators to be incubated. So here I'm trying to talk about the role of the career support for the incubators. You need to have sort of like the innovation clubs where the innovators who don't have like the clear ideas would be interacting for the peer learning, so that they can be able to mature their idea and then be competitive to win that slot for their incubation. And another aspect is the funding. We talked about the funding many times, but we won't stop talking about it, because the student will need the seed funding to be able to do their prototype, to be able to do the research that our colleague from the E4 Impact mentioned. If they are part of the identifying their market, the ideation of their product, defining their product, developing their product, or deploying the product. So that will need a sort of facilitation for them to be able to do that. And that will require a sort of intentionality in supporting the incubation center. And probably my last point on this, I will call for the academic leadership support to this, because we won't have the incubation centers harnessed or being efficient if we look at it as a side activity part of the other academic activity. It has to be part and parcel of the university business, and that needs the high level of academic leadership support, and not only looking at the level of VC, DVCs, and these others, but looking from the departmental level up to the apex of the university management. So with that leadership support, I think the integration of the incubation center and the efficient probably would take us somewhere. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much once again. And allow me to use these 3 questions to also ask you 3 questions. And the first question I'm going to ask you is, how old is the curriculum that you're implementing today in your institution?
I'm sure we are not looking for an answer to it. It's a
Yeah.
rhetorical
No answer. Just a reflection. And the second question would be, how many times do your instructors, lecturers use the concept or the word or the phrase innovation and entrepreneurship in teaching? And the final question is, if you are learning or a training institution, who are your traditional partners? And so as you reflect around these 3 questions, and as I attempt to answer the same 3 questions, we are integrating our experience in running out of school innovation, incubation, accelerator programs, and relating that with the context of training, learning institutions, especially universities. And I would dare say that we, at a critical time when academic credentials, publications, and all the certificates are overly devalued, and that a thriving ecosystem of innovation, incubation, and accelerator programs out of school is overtaking universities and learning institutions in job creation. That is the reality. That is very easy for somebody who comes out of a university to miss out on employment and entrepreneurship opportunities, but it's almost guaranteed that somebody that spends 6 months, 12 months in and out of school youth accelerator program will run and own a business, whether successful or not. So the question that we must answer is, how are our programs and how are our institutions responding to the urgency of creating enterprises, and not just commercializing innovations or commercializing research, but basically converting those into enterprises. And so for us to run successful innovation, incubation, and accelerator programs in our institutions, we must have a response to the why. Why are we going to establish them in our institutions? And in that why, we must be able to program those innovation hubs and programs. We must be able to design them, just like we design academic curriculum. And while we have faculties or departments, in golf we talk about the 19th hole. Innovation hubs, accelerator centers, business incubation programs in our institutions must be that 19th hole, or that final faculty or department or directorate that then works with everybody. And do not think or overthink these as academicians or heads of institutions. An example was given here by Engineer Anke, and I really loved her presentation. We must not move to the level of the DVC to innovate, because some of your institutions are not huge enough to accommodate 3 DVCs or 4 DVCs or even 2 DVCs. You have 1 DVC. So it could be a directorate, but treat it as a faculty or a department that then talks to everybody. And do not run the risk of having multiple innovation or incubation centers, like we have, you know, a chemistry, a physics, a biology, a home science laboratory, and so forth. No, it must be a one-stop shop, like was mentioned, with all these programs together. And the ultimate goal is, how many businesses are we going to register out of that innovation, incubation, and accelerator program? How many patents are we going to have out of that? How many partnerships are we going to create out of that? How many minimum viable products are we going to emerge out of that particular hub? And finally, how much revenue are we targeting in this particular hub? In Kenya last year, the country raised, as a final point, over 600 million US dollars in startup funding. That was a decline from 2023, which was about 1 billion US dollars. So the startup ecosystem in Africa today is raising about 2.2 billion. The big question that learning institutions, especially universities, must be able to answer is, what fraction of the $2.2 billion are we attracting as incubators, as accelerators, and innovation centers on campus or maker spaces in TVET spaces? And that's the question that we try to answer. That's what we are trying to support as Corporate Career Academy. Thank you very much.
Okay. Much has already been said, so I will try not to repeat what has been said. But one of the things, because I've spent quite a bit of time in different innovation ecosystems, the Silicon Valley being one of them, and also with the European digital innovation hubs. And one thing that stands out in all these ecosystems is the ability of private sector and the universities working together, especially when it comes to commercialization. We can't emphasize a lot on this, that it doesn't help to have all this research going on, but then there are no proper solutions or innovations that are coming out of them, something tangible that we can see. So it's important to tap into this wider ecosystems. In the innovation in the innovation circles, we talk about being global. And by global, we mean having local solutions that are also global in nature. So it's important that as we think of innovations locally, how are we ensuring that those innovations can also compete on a global scale? And even the skills that our innovators or entrepreneurs are having, can they compete globally? So I think it's important that we look at the wider innovation ecosystem, even as we come up with these accelerators or incubators and innovation hubs within our institutions. Make sure you're leveraging other partnerships outside of your local ecosystem. The other thing is a big role that these centers can also give is provide a platform where innovations can be tested. In the European ecosystem, they talk about test before invest, which is basically testing solutions before huge investments are put into them. And the Silicon Valley talks about failing fast and learning fast, so that you discover if your innovation is not going to work, then you stop putting money into it. So this accelerators and incubators should actually be providing spaces where innovators can test their solutions. And where the institutions don't have them, partner with other organizations or institutions that could be having this kind of testing platforms that can be used for innovations. The other thing I would talk about is, as we look at regions, the East Africa region or Africa as a continent, how are we ensuring that the systems in place will allow these innovations to be scaled across borders. So having support systems, and this now calls upon governments as well, and also these innovation hubs supporting innovators as they come up with solutions, support them so that they can have solutions that can be rolled out or scaled up across borders. The other thing I would talk about is having co-funding models. We've heard a lot about how private sector is not working well with the universities, but at the end of the day, it's, each party will have to ask themselves what's in it for them, right? So if there's nothing for private sector, then they will not put in funding. And the other way around, if academia are not seeing value in terms of collaborations with private sector, then those kind of collaborations cannot happen. So it's important that we come up with co-funding models that are beneficial to both sides so that funding does not become a big issue or is not heavily skewed towards one side and not the other. The other thing, which will be my last point on this, is about what we call the digital maturity assessment. And this I'm talking as someone who's very passionate about digital transformation. So we want to adopt digitalization in our solutions, but when you start looking at the capacities of this innovation hubs or accelerators and incubators, most of them don't even understand where they are at in terms of digital maturity. And when I talk about digital maturity, I am referring to digital culture and digital intensity of our organizations, because if we are to innovate, then we need to have the right levels of digital maturity, and someone has to be playing the role of doing these assessments. For instance, last year I did the very first digital maturity assessment of Kenyan enterprises when we were setting up an EU-funded Green and Digital Innovation Hub. So it's important that even universities understand where they are at in terms of digital maturity, so that then that helps them in terms of seeing how they can develop or digitalize and also support entrepreneurs on that. I had forgotten this, last one. Those that don't have physical labs where solutions can be tested, then you could have virtual classrooms, or you can also have digital platforms or virtual platforms. And for those who don't have them, there are so many institutions that are not necessarily African that have virtual labs that you could be collaborating with. And I will hand over to you. Thank you.
Thank you. I think much has been said by the other panelists, but let me highlight one area, and this is building strong entrepreneur and innovation ecosystems. The previous speakers highlighted one somehow on that, but I want to emphasize on the issue of how the different disciplines and the different faculties in the university collaborate in making that sure that the innovations and the entrepreneurial skills or ecosystem is well coordinated. What am I saying? You have different faculties of business. You have ICT. You have maybe agriculture. But how do you collaborate so that the professors from the business school have course units that are given out in the ICT faculty, or the other way around? You may find that it is solely meant that this is the professor of ICT and he has to teach those courses in ICT, and that is that. But you need the ideas, those innovative ideas, the skills, the competencies that the person from the the faculty from the different faculty like business has that he has to transmit to the other faculties. So the emphasis is why don't you have joint projects in innovation that are cross-cutting the different faculties in the university? There will be that harnessing, because it is an ecosystem that is encompassing the whole university. The other area that I would want to emphasize is the mentorship and advisory programs. Yes, they may be there, but how strong are they? When were you, the last time that we invited the entrepreneur alumni, who probably are very prominent, to come and give a talk, or are mentoring the young incubators? When did you attach maybe a prominent venture capitalist from the ecosystem in your country to come and mentor the people in the innovation ecosystem at your university? If this would be done, then the mentorship and the advisory program of entrepreneurship and innovation can be enhanced. I remember in my former university, I went to Makerere University, and quite often in my school they used to invite, I don't know whether he's still living, but Mr. Wavamuno. He may be, I'm not sure. Eh? Okay. Yeah, they used to invite him to come and give talk in my school. And all that he would say would be real practical. And I'm just imagining if you would bring such a kind of person to be a mentor to the young innovators, they will be seeing things live. And this comes to the question of the student who has this in the morning, the professors that probably are not that practical. But the venture capitalists, the entrepreneur alumni who are having this hands-on in their area are able to do this because they have studied, but they have also practiced it or are practicing it. And they would be the ideal people to be the mentors or the advisors to these young people who are coming up as innovators. I submit.
Thank you. Panelists, can we take the next two questions together? I would like to reframe them a little bit. Okay. It says here, what is the best approach to integrate entrepreneurship education in traditional academic programs in the university? Let's remove traditional, right, and just say standard academic programs. Right? The discipline-based programs and all of those, right? Because I don't know what traditional means here, you know. Right? And then the second one is the most effective strategies for identifying and nurturing young talent with entrepreneurial potential. I would like you to address this question of how do you know when someone has entrepreneurial potential? Okay. So take both of these questions together. How do we deal with the standard academic programs in universities and infuse entrepreneurship in them? And then the other one is nurturing the talent that has potential for, you know, entrepreneurial potential, and answer the question, how do you know they have it? Or maybe you don't need to. We'll start with you on the other side this time.
Thank you again. In the morning, something was mentioned of the triple helix model. And the speaker rightly defined it. But I want to come to it by saying, how often do we engage all the three stakeholders in the triangle and relate it to the curriculum? From the design, the development, the review, and then the practical bit of training and also assessment. And now, more often, by the way, I was in academia, so I'm saying it may have changed, but by that time, you would sit in a classroom or have a retreat, design a curriculum. And all of you in the audience are academicians. There is no one from the private sector, and in this case, private sector, I'm talking of those who are going to consume your products. Because after 4 years or 3 years, the students are going out to be employed by the employers are the private sector and the like. So you look at the people who are designing the curriculum, and later on who will review it and develop it, none is from the consumer side. That's a very big problem. So the point I want to drive at is to change from the traditional bit of it is to bring in the consumers. The demand side should be present at all the value chains of training, from the design of the curriculum, development, review, training, assessment, and like I think one person in the morning said, even on the management of the education institution. There, I think it will work very well. One other area that I wanted to point out, and with the experience that we are attempting to create here in Rwanda, is the role of sector skills councils. Sector skills councils being the private sector-led skills bodies to come in that ecosystem. Then they will be telling the people who are in academic what they are supposed to produce and in what caliber, and even qualify what is being produced. Thank you.
Okay, so how can we integrate entrepreneurship education in standard academic programs at universities? So I guess we have to introduce practical entrepreneurship courses. That is one. And for those institutions that do not have incubators or accelerators or some shape or form of those kind of entities, I guess you would then need to partner with existing incubators and accelerators that are outside of your universities. That is one way, so that then you're not taking up the burden of setting up your own. You could leverage on those that exist around you. The other is, and I think Professor Anke talked about this earlier, but I'll just frame it a little bit different. Allow students academic credits for working on startups and innovative projects. That is one. So you have to work around giving them some form of credit, academic credits, for working on this kind of projects. The other is, of course, multidisciplinary innovation programs where you're bringing together students from across different schools. That's already happening, especially at postgraduate level, but I think it's important that you begin to do this right from undergraduate, so that they begin to be able to think differently and also come up with innovative ideas. The other is introducing Entrepreneurship 101. I don't know if there's anything like that or how you name your units, but I'm just thinking at the top of my head, having something very introductory level that is compulsory, irrespective of whatever school or course the students are taking. Almost something similar to statistics. I see statistics across all faculties or schools. So I think that would help, because then it begins to educate those who may not have an understanding of what entrepreneurship is about, to then begin thinking about that in the early stages of their education and maybe shape their decisions as they carry on with their studies. In terms of identifying who could be an entrepreneur, I think it's almost a natural thing that we are drawn to things that we like, right? So if someone likes singing, for instance, they will automatically think of taking a music-related course. So I think the kind of courses that students will select sort of speak to what their interests are. Not all the time, but that could be an indicator of what they would be interested in. It's unfortunate that sometimes you end up doing courses that you may not really want. You just end up in a certain class because a selecting body decided that is where you fit in. But if people are selecting, or students are selecting the courses they like, I think they would be drawn to entrepreneurship courses or something innovation related if that is what they're passionate about. I think that is one way. The other is to begin this process at a very early age, and this is what we do at Global X. We work even with parents and with schools, and in terms of after-school clubs and also holiday classes where we introduce these different concepts so that then children grow up knowing that that is a potential pathway for them. Because I'm a strong believer in start early so that you identify talent early. And I know university is much later, but at the end of the day, if we begin to shape this from a very early age, then I think by the time they're getting to higher education, they definitely understand what pathways they want to follow. And I think I will leave it at that. With time, maybe we can speak about how we can nurture, but I will leave it.
Okay, to add my voice on what my colleagues have said, the first approach is that we must be intentional about curriculum review and the frequency of those review, whether peer review or a full review of our curriculum. The history of education in this ecosystem, and I'm talking about the East African community, is that we've developed most of our programs, if not with recent private sector education, in the public ecosystem. We have programs dating back to the 1980s and early 90s. Regardless of how your institution came to be, it was a constituent of another parent university, and you inherited the curriculum from that university. And that is that there is a likelihood that there is a university today that is teaching with a before 2000 curriculum. So let's be intentional about curriculum review, and let's talk about those common courses that we are teaching. I'll take a good example of African Leadership University as a case study. Look at the courses they teach in the first year: critical thinking, entrepreneurship, innovation. I'm not saying this because the VC is here, but that is the reality. I was taught Comms 101, and I had colleagues who did Comp 101. I mean, a first-year student taking computer packages. So we have to really rethink on what do we want to prioritize. Like my colleague says, Sylvia, I think she read my notes. Entrepreneurship 101 or Entrepreneurship 100. We are teaching accounting 1 or accounting 100 or 101. But what is it in that accounting? Yeah? Complex calculations instead of Excel organization of businesses or concepts or business plans. By the way, this innovation and accelerator labs or hubs that we're talking about, one of the basic things that we teach in those spaces is business model canvas, which basically tells you how to organize your issues, including how to calculate profits and so forth. So are we teaching that as a priority? I may not delve into the details of the approaches, but we've answered that. The other thing that perhaps you might want to consider is before we get feedback from the private sector, can we get feedback from the students who are the first stakeholders? For example, one of the ways that we've supported curriculum review is by students themselves contributing on what they think other institutions are doing more competitively than your own institution. Because much as we share knowledge at the academia level, at the instructors and lecturers level, these guys at this lower level share more information, share more strategies than we do. And the last thing on how. Again, be very intentional and facilitate. Do not predate. One of the reasons why students don't open up to their lecturers or your universities is that they believe that once they generate ideas, you're going to take them over. And there was an example that was given here by one of the speakers. I think it was Engineer Anke. A university cannot own 100% of an enterprise that belongs to a student or to a lecturer or to an instructor. So what has to happen is behave the Estonia way. The government of Estonia is known to be one of the best governments facilitating the startup ecosystem. But what does it do? Create the environment, facilitate registration, facilitate formalization, but take only 1% or a maximum 10% as a stake as a university. And that 10% could be, or 1% could be a stake of 10 enterprises. Now, if 38 enterprises in Kenya in 2023 raised 630 billion, it was about 630 million. It was about 7.7 million US dollars per enterprise. That is probably bigger than what we use to run most of our faculties in the institutions for smaller universities. So smaller enterprises and smaller stakes without predating in these enterprises or student startup would give us the impetus to encourage students to generate ideas and open up. And lastly, we've supported many institutions to create offices of career services where we are anchoring employability skills, innovation, and entrepreneurship. And one thing that we run commonly is career fairs. In these career fairs, we have demo days and innovation challenges. So I would encourage you or challenge you there that when you leave here and you go back to your institutions, can you run a challenge for entrepreneurship or run a challenge for innovations among your students and see the ideas that come up? And give responsibilities or assign responsibilities to the most passionate individuals, whether they're in the faculty or they're non-teaching staff, because what is going to generate and support entrepreneurship, innovation, and incubation in our institution is passion than what we know on the academic side. And that is the reality, that people probably without the degrees or people without the second or third degrees are more practical in their approach to facilitating entrepreneurship, innovation, and that kind of ecosystem. But the first is, can we also encourage our students to co-create? I left a university with a certificate of my degree. The others could have been certificates of leadership and participation in social courses. Can we encourage and make it a target that when we generate or graduate students, they leave one with a certificate on their particular course and degree, but they also leave with a business registration certificate? What would that do? If I get out of the ecosystem and I'm looking for opportunities to supply or even collaborate with government, we have affirmative action tenders or business opportunities in every of these countries. But what you need is a simple business registration or incorporation certificate. When we graduate and get out of these institutions, we don't have the $100 that it costs to register and incorporate a business. But this could be part of my projects from year 1 to year 2, that at year 2 or year 3, I have a registered business as an individual or as a group of 5 students that are collaborating in also taking care of the fact that we only have 3 pathways now. The pathway number 1 is employability skill. The pathway number 2 is innovation. The third pathway is entrepreneurship. And all these are responding to the question on jobs, jobs, jobs. The highest propensity is with entrepreneurship and innovation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think all is said, so I'm trying to find if I can add something. But I want to pick from the point that the previous speaker mentioned around being intentional in integrating entrepreneurship in our education. I think one of the key aspects on the output of our graduates is our education philosophy as institutions. So what is our education philosophy as institutions? I think here, if we want to integrate entrepreneurship as a part and parcel of our curriculum, we need to find a way of adopting the entrepreneurial education as our education philosophy, to be able to provide those skills, entrepreneurial skill set that he mentioned. He mentioned critical thinking, but there is the design thinking, there is the agility, there is adaptability, and these other skills, leadership and the communication. So by adopting our entrepreneurial education philosophy, we should be able to deliver to that. But that doesn't only come from the curriculum. I think the biggest part is on how do we deliver the curriculum, because we need to get the right approaches in the curriculum delivery. Yesterday, we were talking about problem-based learning, talking about challenge-based learning, but the key aspect here is how do we frame those problems, how do we frame those challenges, and how do we give those case studies that can instill that entrepreneurship spirit. So I think here we need to rethink about our mode of teaching. And another aspect is to engage the entrepreneurs in our teaching, not inviting them for the public talks, but inviting them in our teaching so that they can give seminars or sessions to the student. Then the student can know the reality in the world of business and be able to spot the business opportunities in their particular field, so that way they can even be able to apply some of the entrepreneurial skills that they would acquire. Another aspect is collaboration among the lecturers and the teachers. Someone talked about multidisciplinarity, but for me, I want to probably introduce here the aspect of integrated programs that provide integrated challenges where students from more than one or two programs can collaborate in a specific challenge. Then from there, they can be able to use all the different skills to address the challenge, and the challenge should be addressing the real world problem. So with those approach, I think the student will be able to get some of the entrepreneurial skills that they need. But of course, they need also to be exposed to different avenues that will provide them with the right platform to acquire some of the skills. And that leads me to how do we spot the talents? I think by exposing them, you will see those who are really interested, who are eager to join the entrepreneurship journey, but also organizing some intentional activities to be able to give them the spot to showcase what they are capable of doing, but also expressing their interest. Some of the colleagues mentioned having innovation challenge, having career fairs, but also having innovation boot camps, but also allow them to go out to some other of the platforms from either the private sector, but also these other partners that we are collaborating with, and see how even their idea can be potential to the other partners. And another aspect is also having a very programmed mentorship program so that the mentors would be able to know some of the talents around and be able to set the pathways for grooming them. Thank you.
Thank you. Integrating entrepreneurship into academic programs. I would like to take the UNESCO approach of dealing with these things. UNESCO says it is not nice to talk about integration of certain forms of knowing into something. And here I want us to start to think about how do we weave entrepreneurship into our academic programs. Weaving, it means that it's something that becomes part and parcel of our academic programs. That's a mindset shift. I think
in the morning people spoke about mindset change. And in this case, if you are to weave entrepreneurship into academic programs, it starts with that mindset change with academic leadership. And it cascades down to the professors and the lecturers, including the technicians and support staff. If that is achieved, it means that it becomes easy to weave or integrate entrepreneurship into our academic programs. I'm a conservation biologist by training, but if you talk to me today, I only talk about the business of conservation because that's the philosophy and the theory of change that we run with as the School of Wildlife Conservation at ALU, because ALU is all about training ethical, innovative entrepreneurial leaders. And for that, whether you are a physicist or you are a data scientist or you are an engineer, you should have that mindset change. What mindset do we want our faculty to have? So it starts with us. And I see we want to talk about the program and the students, but that change starts with us. So that's number one. And that will lead to curriculum innovation. Curriculum innovation means that we go out of the box. He refused to say conventional. So going out of the box means that we are running away from what we know as the norm. And in this case, I'll give the example of Africa Leadership University. It believes that in missions and not majors, meaning that when a student enters the university in day one, a student has to identify and to develop a mission supported by mission curators, learning coaches, in order for them to be able to identify that problem that they want to solve as an individual from wherever they come from. In their countries, their villages, a student should have a mission. And that mission should have an element of entrepreneurship in it, because we know that the challenges that we have in Africa, be it healthcare, be it education, be it social services, everything that we need, everything that we can talk about has a bit of entrepreneurship in it. All of us are entrepreneurs in one way or the other. We have sold sweets or bread in one way or the other. So we are entrepreneurs. In this case, we can and we should embed entrepreneur ideas in all our courses, whether it is biology or it is physics. We should embed those ideologies in it. But we believe also of experiential learning. So how can students be able to tap into the ideologies of entrepreneurship? We understand that normally students learn only 10% of the things that they are able to use in real life from the classroom. And the 20% they learn from their peers. And the 70% they learn from doing. And so if we introduce Entrepreneurship 101 in year one, then they go and do physics, they go and do chemistry, they go and do biology, how are they going to learn from their peers, and how are they going to possibly learn by doing? And so many conventional programs that introduce a 101 will end up not actually being able to meet the goal that we are setting ourselves for, to weave or to integrate entrepreneurship into our programs. Why? Because it's only one course. At ALU, we have the Center of Entrepreneurship that weaves down and goes there, and we have an entrepreneurship lab. Every student goes through E-Lab. Whether you are going to be doing software engineering, we are going to be doing international and business trade, we are going to be doing Bachelor of Entrepreneurship entrepreneurial leadership, you have to go through the E-Lab, where you have to learn by doing, through teams, do projects, and be able to come up with an idea to solve a real life problems. So as a student comes in, a student wants to solve a problem. So we identify what we refer to as global challenges and global opportunities that a student identifies with. But within that challenge and the opportunity, a student has to have an entrepreneurial mindset in addressing and dealing with that problem. And so that's one aspect of dealing with. But at a global level, I want to talk about policy frameworks. This is not possible if our policies are not in sync with what the government wants. So if the government pushes a policy that we need to push entrepreneurship, we need to push innovation in our institutions, our accreditation bodies are going to make sure that they bring us up to task. You cannot accredit a program that lacks aspects of innovation and entrepreneurship because you are actually not producing graduates that are fit for purpose. So it is very important to do that. How do we identify? How do we identify entrepreneurial students? We learning by doing, because students will demonstrate that they are able by the outputs and the product that they produce when they go through the E-Lab, right? They are given a task, they are given a challenge, or they identify a challenge, and students are able to do that. We have so many programs that we could actually have discussed and talked about, but because of time, I won't be able to do that. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Colleagues, we don't have too much time. Our lunch is cold already. So we need to move and end this session. And I would like to thank our panelists for all their committed and vibrant presentations. I'd just like to ask you, as you move out, to think about Bloom's taxonomy, right? And ask, where does an entrepreneur sit in your Bloom's taxonomy? I won't answer this question here. Right? Where do you locate them? And how do we get there? So thank you very much. Let's close the session. Thank you, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Sorry for rushing in. Enough time. Yeah.
Me, and I work with different projects, especially projects on AI and other different STEM projects. So let me keep my introduction short, and I'm honored to be standing here before you to chair this session. It's a very interesting session. It's about AI. I know many people, when we talk about AI, they think of ChatGPT. So AI is beyond ChatGPT. So we have chatbots, we use AI in enhancing education, health, agriculture, climate change, and all that, and you will hear about that. And we will have a session, a panel session, which is so live, and they will take you through all that, AI policies, strategies in place, and all that. So we're going to start with a plenary presentation. So today, we are honored to have Professor Engineer Jean Bosco Byiringiro, who is Director, DECUT, Siemens Mechatronics Certification Center. He'll talk more about that. And he's going to present about leveraging artificial intelligence as a catalyst for innovation in East Africa. So let's put our hands together as we welcome him. So he will be online. You can see him. Yeah, thank you so much. You're welcome, sir.
Hello, am I audible? Hello, am I audible?
Yes.
Hello,
Yes.
am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, good afternoon. I am Eugene Bosco. I want today to present to you this leveraging on artificial intelligence as a catalyst for innovation in East Africa. If I just take 1 minute or a few seconds to introduce myself again. I am Eugene Bosco. I am the founder of Siemens Center and the Virtual Mechatronics Labs, which I'm going to show you what we do. But my PhD was micro and nanofabrication. When I came back to Africa, I realized the technology was not yet matured, but since I had a mechatronics background, I decided to go back to mechatronics and try to find industrial solution. In 2016, we partnered with the Siemens Germany so that we can be able to be training industries and the professionals on how the technology is moving. That time we were in industrial 4, we were talking about industrial 3.0, now we are industrial 4.0. So if I continue with my presentation, I wanted to introduce a bit about the center. I talk about Industrial 4.0 enablers, like artificial intelligence is an enabler. I talk about the Africa artificial intelligence potential. Then I talk about the key steps for effective adoption. I look at the fostering the collaboration. I talk about a little bit case study we can refer to in Africa, especially in East Africa. Then I present what we are trying to do with industry in terms of artificial intelligence and virtual reality and other things. Then I say about key challenges, then I give the recommendation. Where we are, here, this is a University of Technology in central Kenya. The lab we have, when we started this Siemens Center, we worked with industry to make sure that we have centers which are like independent. As we speak, our center, in Siemens Center, I have 20 employees, and these 20 employees, we have to work hard to get the money to pay their salaries as now a professor in the university, which the government from Exchequer can pay us also as staff, but if you want us to pay our researchers and our developers, we have to do it by ourselves. So this virtual mechatronics lab is a research lab which do teaching in training. We have what we call in class and on-job training, and also we have to train industries. We have a good MOUs with the Rwanda Polytechnics. We have MOU with the Rwanda Polytechnics. We have trained the EPRC Tumba. We are going to train EPRC Karongi. We trained people in Kenya, different industries, Isuzu for car manufacturing, K-Engine for geothermal. We are training many of them for these technologies. Currently, what we are focusing on is Industrial 4.0 and Industrial Metaverse. When we are talking about this Industrial Metaverse, is a kind of, I can call it like a game-changing ecosystem, which allow artificial intelligence, augmented reality, virtual reality, digital twin to integrate together, because you wanted to have something almost realistic, but which is immersive, so that you can be able to have data-driven environment. Go back to Industrial 4.0 enablers, so that it takes us to know why do we discuss here artificial intelligence. If we look at Africa itself, definitely when it comes to revolution in industries, we were going a bit slow. Definitely Africa has resources because we have people and we have natural resources, but we are going slow when it comes to digital twin, artificial intelligence, robotics, which are enablers for Industrial 4.0. So for those the revolution, we were going a bit slow. But if we look at the sector, as I said, Africa, we are not progressing as we should do. But this gives advantage to Europeans, because the Europeans take advantage, I mean the Western countries, I mean Europe, America, they take advantage of that gap so that they can be able to sell us these kind of technologies. While there is a potential, if we follow this Industrial 4.0 and they try to follow these enablers, artificial intelligence is part of enablers. That is what I want now to talk about. look at Africa. When you look at African population, if you look at around the 2030, 42% of the world will be youth, but 77% will be Africans. And if you look at this Africa young people, they have tried to embrace the Industry 4.0 and the artificial intelligence, because for them, they are trying to push it as compared with the industry. Actually, when you look at it, we are becoming really very good rivals to Western countries, because 78% of Africans are using artificial intelligence in comparison with the European and the Western countries, which are 69%. If we look at Africa currently from this data from artificial intelligence statistics, they are showing there will be around in 2030, there will be around the 16 billion US dollars, which will be invested in artificial intelligence. Why we discuss this, we wanted to show what is this artificial intelligence is important, why this artificial intelligence matters for Africa. I'm just showing on screen a very simple case study where you have people coming to work, you have to identify them without necessarily telling them to use their fingerprint. Just when you have the cameras, they can be able to, as much as you have made the algorithm, it can be able to help you to identify who is the person, if the door can open or it cannot accept open. But when you look at this, why this matters, it is important for economic growth, because you can use artificial intelligence in agriculture, in healthcare, in finance, and manufacturing. Also, it has definitely societal impact, because we have a problem of the food security, we have a problem of healthcare, we have a problem of education. So I will show the case studies where people has used this kind of technologies, AI, to try to solve the healthcare access and also talk about education. Also, we want it to be global competitive, because we can't be global if the other countries are moving to artificial intelligence. And for us, we decide to lag behind. We are going to have problems. But the good thing, the current state of Africa, and if I talk about East Africa, you can talk about Kenya, you can talk about Rwanda, you can talk about Uganda. They are really doing well. Today, you can go to internet, you find the national policy for artificial intelligence in Rwanda. You can be able to see the national policy for Kenya Research Hub, artificial intelligence research hub. So those are very good initiative has been started by countries. And some university has started to do technical hubs and also tech hubs and integrate artificial intelligence in their programs, even if it is still at lower level. What is important is for us to look at Africa level. We were discussing the East Africa, but we have to also for Africa level. In Africa level, they look at where do we need artificial intelligence and where are we using it much if you check it. Today, artificial intelligence around 30% in Africa is used in ICT, but we are using 39% in manufacturing. So it means there is a problem again, because we need for us to catch up with China, to catch up with the Western to stop selling what they are selling much to us. We need to put a lot of effort in manufacturing. We need to use this artificial intelligence in manufacturing. Countries like Mauritius, Egypt, South Africa, Tunisia, and I said Rwanda, they are trying to push this artificial intelligence, which is good. But if we look at the step we should be able to take if we want to adopt this artificial intelligence, we need to look at an university level and we look at industry level. What university can do and what industry can do. Definitely, many of my colleagues has discussed this. They talked about integrating in the curriculum, trying to partner with industries, because if you partner in industry and you make the curriculum, because if you look at it, you can see today, if you look at the data we are dealing with, 90% of this data was just generated within the last 2 years because of this push of artificial intelligence. And we are seeing around the 20 to 30% job will be replaced by artificial intelligence. Then, if you look at the money you have to invest, you invest too small, like 3% to be able to build this artificial intelligence. What is important here, there is a need to establish this hub so that you can be able to have a dedicated research and experimentation. We need to look at the hardware and software and the data set needed. Collaboration with industry definitely is very important. Today we are facing a big problem, because when you want to get data from industry, they are tempted to sell to you expensively when you are in academia. That is a big problem. We can engage project internship with the industries, and also we can try to integrate, because if you look at mechatronics as a course itself, it is a multidisciplinary. But when you look at computer and engineering and business, they try to do separate, to work separately. If they work separately, they will not be able to appreciate or to move this artificial intelligence. When you look for business, usually when you want to do the business, you need to look at where you have more potential. So industry need to identify, if you are industry for food, you focus on that. But especially for Africans, if you look at many Africans who schooled in Europe for the last 2 decades, they are doing maintenance engineering. So it means in Africa, we have too many people who have studied the maintenance, predictive maintenance, optimization, customer services. So those are the things you can put artificial intelligence and you move very fast as a business. Again, you need to test AI solution and then you think about scaling up those solutions. Definitely, there is a need to invest. If today you ask in Europe, the investment in the US and China, the investment is in the hardware and the software for the development and deployment of artificial intelligence. Here we are talking about NVIDIA, we are talking about the Siemens. These are the companies we keep discussing day to day because we are collaborators of Siemens. We keep sharing with them the data and the resources. And also, we need to leverage on the computing platform. That is what we are building in Kenya. I will show you how far we have gone. We develop definitely, if you want to do business, you need to look at existing employees. You need to scale them. You need to give them more skills, especially in AI. Again, you started to recruit experts because if industry continue to recruit mechanical engineer, electrical engineer, computer engineer, without looking at AI expert and the data scientist, they are going to have still problems. You need to leverage on innovations. This innovation happening because there are new products, there are new models. Today, the world is a bit difficult because human being is looking for customized solutions. So it is not like the same when you are in the 15th century, human being was living like cryo, where you have to protect your house, look for food, you do everything. But today, it is not happening like that. When we look at fostering this collaboration, because we need to see academia, industry, and the government collaborating, but we need to define properly the role of each person, role of each group. For example, in the academia, we have to conduct cutting-edge research. I had many people talking about to bring the university to the industry to university. That is still you can do. And direct the professional, do the professional jobs. They collaborate, but they don't, like somebody is not trying to go to the space for another person. Again, there will be some fight. So what I'm trying to say is now, university can explore, can continue research, try to solve the industrial-related problems. They have to develop the talent, actually the AI talent, look at the degree programs. Somebody was asking in the morning, innovation, talk about AI. You find many programs, many industries, many universities, they are tempted to put the AI program in their programs, but they teach very basic. They don't teach match the algorithm. You need to have the problem to try to have a curriculum, and you need to have people who can solve the existing problems. We need to establish innovation hubs. That is what we are doing here. We have a Siemens Center, we have virtual mechatronics labs, because we have to start in the university where we are to create a kind of independence to the professors, to have the centers, and then guide the research. And then we need to encourage the interdisciplinary collaboration. That is very, very important because there's a lot of things, there's a lot of work to be done. When you look at industry, they need to provide the data. That is where we have a very big problem because the data industry are not willing to share the data with academia here. But when I was asking my partner, it is not only the problem in Africa. Industry think the people in academia they are dreaming. They don't know, they are doing work, they are doing research, but they think these guys are dreaming, they don't know exactly the reality. Sometimes they think these people in academia, they have a lot of money, they should give it to us. And academia think industry has money, should give it to us. So that is where the problem is. But we need to get the data, we need to strike a deal with industry so that they can allow us to get the data. I'm having a project with the Kengen and the other partners on geothermal exploration. But when you are looking for the data, the negotiation is really very high. So other things industry need to do is to collaborate with academia, as I said, in maintenance, in customer segmentation, in supply chain optimization, and then investing. people talked about, if you look at countries like Germany, you find the researchers are using the money from industry. In Africa, we are waiting to get money from Erasmus, Horizon, those kind of organizations which doesn't buy infrastructures. So it means if you get those project of Erasmus, you can keep just sleeping in a hotel, moving a mobility, that's okay, but it will not help you. Again, we need industries to invest in cloud computing, invest in data centers. In our university, as I said, we have the data center. We are the backup for Kansas City, Nairobi. So we were given that chance. So we will be able to get at least enough data we needed to use. Then we needed to work with industry to commercialize these innovations, because you cannot just do research for the sake of doing research. If you have a patent, but this patent is not commercialized, it's equal to have a paper or to have just something you posted on LinkedIn or Facebook. Because just you people will be knowing you have patented, but you are not making any progress in terms of money. When we talk about the role of the government has to create policies, because that is what we need from the government. They need to give the professors, to give the industries enabling environment. And also the government needed to create a way of giving incentives to the people who deal with the project in AI. And also we need the high-speed internet. We can't discuss this when internet is very slow. Even where we are here, we are trying to talk in this conference. We have to make sure that when we are talking, everybody is listening. Our internet is not slow. But when we go to virtual reality and augmented reality, that has become another problem, because we need to really have high-speed internet. As much as we are using the 5G internet where we are, but it doesn't give us what really we want. We wanted to have Science and Technology Park. Yesterday, the day before yesterday, yesterday, Dr. Kidinji from a semiconductor, he was presenting, trying to talk about semiconductor materials. As I said, he's my good friend because I did microfabrication and we worked together to have him in the university. He was the first client for our Science and Technology Park. That is why we gave him space in the university. So we have to collaborate, to promote a collaboration with the universities. That is why I said the role of government. We are a public institution. We allow industries to come to work with us. We facilitate a partnership between industries, definitely the private and the public, and then we look at to create a knowledge sharing. We are trying to see how do we share knowledge, how do we create good networks. So if I look at the key success in East Africa, it's very important to mention this and to recognize it. In Kenya, there is what we call Twiga Food. It tried to inform the farmers, to improve how the farmer communicate and be able to sell their product at a certain cost, acceptable cost. When you look at Hero Tractor, is another Kenya agriculture productivity, which really reduces the labor cost. When you go to healthcare, you find the Babylon Health. This is in Rwanda. This is really trying to help in healthcare. The Cyprian is really very known. We are the Rwanda is delivering the medical, the critical medical, what you need, drugs, blood, and so forth. We are talking about the finance, we are talking about M-Pesa. It's very important in Kenya, it is really has done a revolution. When you look at the Tara, if you look at the safe transport in Rwanda, these are good jobs which are being done. But the question is, how do we look at ethics in these things we are doing? Here I'm giving just a very simple example. If somebody decides to drive an autonomous car and this car make an accident, who is responsible? If, for example, you go to apply for a job and they use AI and they terminate you, here I am showing something. This is a Google, what happened. Google tried in 2020 to provide these photos to AI to analyze what it is. On one side, it said, this is a monocle. On the other side, it said it's a gun. So it means this data, if you think somebody holding monocle is a gun he's holding, is another problem if AI say that. Then again, to get the data which are not authorized. Let me go to where we are in virtual mechatronics. In virtual mechatronics, we are trying to do what we call human-robot collaboration. Because Africa, people think robot is going to take human job. And for us, we are trying to say, no. We can use AI, we use Industry 4.0, augmented reality, and we make sure robot is helping human. It is not robot taking the job of human. What we are talking about here we are trying to tell this robot, somebody is assembling a gear, like you are trying to make like a gearbox or anything which you are assembling in manufacturing, and then you are talking to the robot, you are ordering the robot, and you are telling the robot what to do. So it is a robot to bring you a gear if you want, and you can tell it what you want it to do. This is an industrial project. We work with the Siemens, we work with the Festo Germany, we work with the Swiss Smart Factory Innovation Park, because we wanted to take this kind of solution to the market so that Africa can be able to appreciate in a way you have accuracy, you have safety, and you have efficiency. That is what we are trying to do so that you can be having a very good and adaptive systems, and which is also innovative. Another solution we have here is, here we are talking about virtual reality, here we are talking about an augmented reality solution. I think internet is a bit slow, but you're going to see it very fast. What we are talking about here, we are talking about human being going massive in the cloud, and he's able to do what we call mixed reality. He's able to collaborate with the robot, but he can be able to know the intention of this robot, and he can use virtual reality to bring different screen, different information. He can be able to talk to the robot, he can be able to do, to know the intention, he can be able to tell the robot to stop, and the robot is behaving like human. In this case, we are trying to see how a robot can be able to collaborate with the human, and the human knows very well and is seeing very well what the robot wants to do. All this job in our lab, it is making the virtual mechatronics, definitely is a virtual mechatronics lab. We are trying to make this robot to be adaptive, because like you are working with human being, at one point you want to stop the job and you want to do something else, the robot must learn and understand what you are trying to do. You tell it. So the robot becomes adaptive, it becomes smarter, but you are the human in control. If you see this young man, he's able to go to this robot, he's operating the robot in a digital twin. The robot is doing assembly, he's able to see the robot in a mixed reality, and also he's able to see the cloud. You can see he can take the workpiece, he can take the workpiece from the physical, and he can take the workpiece from the virtual. So this solution, we have uploaded this solution. If I show here, this solution, we have the multi-side quest. Somebody can log in. If you have a metaverse handset, you can go to the side quest, you download our solutions. We have different solutions we have provided on internet, and people can be able to get. Why we are doing this? We want the school, which cannot access the physical machine, physical equipment, can be able to access them through our lab. So our lab, we are trying to make sure that we have this kind of infrastructure and allow everybody who can access it to access it, definitely at a small cost. When you look at the key challenge, today, when you talk about this virtual reality, artificial intelligence, all these technologies, why people don't adapt this technology very fast? Why they are not adopted is the cost concern. Because people think this is very expensive, how do we go about it? But also there is a problem of limited understanding, because we are tempted to think the virtual platform, if we talk about artificial intelligence, is a black box. We don't know what is happening. It is just something you put the word you wanted to put, like ChatGPT, DeepSeek, and others, and it gives you an output. The data challenge. We don't have the data because industry are not giving us enough data we need. Again, we are talking about the legacy device. When you deal with the legacy device, integration and adaptation of this legacy device is very difficult. We need to have the device which are up to date, or to have a possibility to upgrade this device. There is also the lack of a clear user case, because the people are talking about artificial intelligence. Right now, we are using it in robotics. We want human being to remain in control. That is what people are trying to talk about in Industrial 5. But there is a limited of user cases sometimes, and also people are resisting to change. You remember when I started, I talked about 20 to 30% job will be taken by artificial intelligence. What we need to do as a strategy to overcome this problem, we need to work with the government, let the government have good policies, we need to understand the fundamentals, we need to train people for the skills, and we need to do the innovation, and we need to scale them to the market. Definitely this can be done, government has a role, industry has a role, and university has a role. When we look at what I can say as a recommendation, As a recommendation, I can say we need to have AI. We need to look at Africa. Where do we have a competitive edge? So that we can say, if we put this AI in education, we have numbers, and we have people who doesn't have resources. How can we develop a solution for them? Because these people are in places, remote areas, but they need to have access to this digital infrastructure. When we talk about the digital content, people think digital content is something you type in your computer. But for us in our lab, digital content is a machine in a digital platform, in a digital form. We need to use AI in logistics and transport. This is good areas. Healthcare are good areas. Financial services is good areas. Agriculture are good areas. But we should not make just AI as a black box. We have a publication here. I made this publication in 2009, 2008, about artificial intelligence, use of artificial intelligence, but what we call rule-based artificial intelligence. We don't use it as a black box. Because if we use it as a black box, people don't trust it. So it must be explainable. The data people must be sure about it. That's the reason why when you are doing artificial intelligence and you use what we call if-then rules, this is what the people do if you go to a neural network, machine learning, deep learning. Some of them, they make it black box because they found it was difficult for people to understand how these rules works, because you need to make conditions. I can give it an example. If you wanted to make a constitution of a country, you need to put this kind of approaches, because you need to say, if this happened, what then? If, for example, you go to court, if somebody has committed if there's a civil case and a criminal case, what the judge just is doing is if. If you go to all the things we keep doing in our normal life. But the question is, do we have the people who can understand the AI, which is based on the algorithm, which can be explainable? That is the discussion. So, in conclusion, we can understand there is a lot of potential for innovation in AI, for the societal transformation, for economic growth, university, business, government. There is a lot we can work together. The question is whether there is willingness of doing it. So, for us to be able to do this and to achieve it, we need to look at the vision for the future. So because Africa needs to create very good AI, and in a way, it can be able to transform the society. As I said, if AI is rule-based, it can be able to help us to understand it, to trust it. Most of the conference I'm attending, people are saying, this AI, it is like the way when we started the universities in the beginning of 1999, 98. How people were talking about the technology and ICT. People are thinking maybe ICT will take you from one position and take it like a rocket. But it doesn't work in that way. Even AI, that is how people think about it. Then we need to look at also the challenges, and we look at challenges also they form the opportunities. And then we need to understand the challenge always creates an opportunity. Always a challenge creates an opportunity. Then we create a kind of a sustainable and inclusive powered AI. As I finish, I can say in my lab, we don't employ anybody above 30 years. We employ between 25 and 30. These are the people employed to deal with the AI. That is why we have this logo. When you look at the logo, is somebody at the position this public is sitting. It is not easy to do it when you are above 30. Thank you so much for giving me opportunity to address this big group. I'm sorry I didn't manage to come to Kigali because I am in the UK as we speak. But hopefully I will come to Kigali in another conference in June. Thank you so much. God bless you. Murakoze.
So thank you so much, Engineer Dr. John Bosco Byiringiro. This was a very great session. I really enjoyed, and I hope the people here enjoyed. And as we enjoy, we also have to put it into action. So this is a call for action, as people started saying it even from yesterday. What we are discussing here, it's a call for action. So it's good that we have in the room people from the industry, people from academia, from government. So all the people who are needed for this collaboration, they are all here. So you're speaking to the right audience, and we believe that after this forum, we will be able to put into action what has been discussed. And I can say my key takeaway is AI is a potential driver for economic development or economic growth, for societal transformation, yeah, and also a key driver for innovation. So AI is the way to go. And I like the way he said they're using people who are under 30, it's not a discrimination. That's not discriminating. So young people, they have the potential to create new things. They are real innovators. So while dealing with these young people in this emerging tech, you can see that these people, they really have the thirst to bring solutions, and these people are the ones who have the skills. Because when we were studying, AI wasn't there, but then now they are studying, they're getting skills, and these skills are going to help them bring in the solutions. Again, they have infrastructure in place, they have policies there, and they also have funding. So I really agree with you. Keep using those people under 30. So we are out, but they're going to do it for us. So thank you so much for that. So I don't want to take much time. We really got well what you said. Thank you so much once again. Can we give him another round of applause? Yes, so next we are going to have a very, very great panel. I'm going to call upon the panelists, and then they can join me here, and then we have this great session. So we're going to have a session about, it's about, we have some things that we are going to focus on. We will focus about how universities and businesses can effectively adopt and implement AI solutions. We are going to talk about how East African countries can foster collaboration between academia, industry, and government to advance AI and innovation. We are also going to talk about some strategies to be taken by East African countries. And if we have more time, we can also talk about ethics. We've seen that ethics are really key, because in AI, we have data privacy issues. So many people don't want to give data because they're really worried of their data. But we have data protection policies, and maybe they're going to talk about all that. And also ethics go beyond that. There is a lot. And I know some governments have already started working on the ethic guidelines for AI. So we will hear more from those panelists. So let me call upon Dr. Said Rutabairo Ngoga. As he comes here, I'm going to introduce him. He's the Division Manager, Technology Innovation at Rwanda Information Society Authority, RISA, Rwanda. It's a government institute. And then next is Dr. Salome Maro, who is a software engineer and lecturer at UDSM, Tanzania. You're welcome. Next, we have Marvin Ogore, specialization coach, machine learning, software engineering program, ALU, Rwanda. You're welcome, sir. Next, we are going to talk about, to call upon Dr. Louis Sibomana. He's the head of science, technology, development, and outreach at National Council for Science and Technology in Rwanda. You're welcome. And then next, we are going to call upon Ken Mwenda, who is a managing director and co-founder, Immobilis, Kenya. You're welcome, sir. The next panelist is Mr. John Matogo, Middle East and Africa leader, IBM Corporate Social Responsibility, IBM. You're welcome, sir. You can see that I have a great panel here. The panel is made up of industry people, there is academia here, and there is government representatives here. So I hope you're going to have a very fruitful session. Thank you so much. it's okay, it's okay. All right, let's dive deep into discussions. So we are lucky that he gave us some foundation or baseline, and we are going to start from there. So I'll start by Dr. Said Ngoga from RISA, as I said. So Said, I would like to ask you how East African countries can foster collaboration between academia, industry, and government to advance AI research and innovation. And I would also like you to bring in maybe the use case of Rwanda. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. So, I thank you for this good topic, and I think we had a chance to hear at least a summary or a good presentation to introduce the AI. I think from the government perspective, or what I could say is the AI era just coming or bringing new, I could put more incentives. So now we have really a lot of incentives that are pushing the players really to collaborate. If I could say the triple helix, I think this is really now the time, because it used to be a theory, but I think now it is more, we really need to make it more practical. I'll just take an example. In Rwanda, we put our AI policy in 2022. And just the policy is just very simple. We have on the upper layer where we have the enabler, the skills, we have the data ecosystems, but also the infrastructure needed. And then in the middle layer, we have now the adoption part. And that we have the government and the private sector. And at the bottom layer, that is where all the ethical aspect comes in. But I'll just talk to the upper layer, where we have the skills and the data ecosystem and the infrastructure. Why I said that now we have incentive to collaborate. If previously, if I go in 2000, if you want to start a computer science department, just 20 computer, 100 computer, 100 Mbps was really enough. So you can run your own program in a silos, and you will just be doing well. In government, if we just want to take 100 services, we automate them, we put them online, we are okay. We are really doing well. There was really no need to collaborate. It was there, but not that much. But now if you now see the type of use case that are coming with AI, so this is really pushing us to the limit. So the computational resources that you need to have it being at the private or university, you can't do it on your own. So the data, even if you achieve the heavy weight, which is on the infrastructure part, if you look entirely the data ecosystem, the value chain from the owner, who are the entity who have the legal right, the stewards, the technicians who manage, handled all these. If you really look now, the entire government, take the land, take the space, all these entities, agencies who really have the data, to really maximize the value of this data, you see that you won't do it on your own. And then the skills required, and then the speed that comes with it. So all these things are just bringing in the need for really people to step out. Otherwise, the new use cases that are now facing us, if we want to predict yield so that we can know how to adjust our inputs and things, or if we want to predict the landslide so we can be able to save life in terms of all these use cases, they are now pushing us, we need to realize them. It is no longer a need just to have services on a portal. Now we have lives to save. And for that, we need really to get out. So what's, in just a nutshell, I'll just say that now I think it is what used to be a theory, because we could just talk triple helix, and we could do our daily life and business as usual. But now I think it is now time to revisit the old theories and see how they can really help us to maximize the value of all this data that we sit on. Thank you.
Yes, so thank you so much, Dr. Said. What you've mentioned is really a key. We are happy to hear that there is that AI policy in place, and that's the first step. So the policy and frameworks need to be there, as the first presenter said. And then I also liked what you that you said, that there are enablers, there are skills, data ecosystem, and innovation ecosystem. So if we want to leverage on AI, some things we can't do without them. We really need the right talent, the right skills that are needed, and these are the emerging tech, and focusing on AI. We need the infrastructure, we need the funding, because it can't work without some finances, and also the need for the ethics. Yeah, but maybe we will have more time so that you can talk about ethics. So, and also it's key to have the clear innovation roadmap, and I think that's what Rwanda is doing, a roadmap which is very clear. So I would like to invite you, Dr. Salom, after listening to what Dr. Said talked about, and the governments are trying to do all what they can to put things in place. So what is happening at academia? So I wanted to talk about how universities and businesses in East Africa can effectively adapt and implement AI solutions to drive innovation. So I would like you to talk from the academia perspective. Thank you.
Thank you. So if you look at the question, you have like two things. So first is, as universities, how can we adapt? And then second, as universities, so how can we actually implement? So on the adoption part, and I'm hoping this is where we all stand, is that AI is here and it's not going away. It's here to stay, and the earlier you embrace it, the better you will be, and the more forefront you will be to the advantages that it brings, especially, you know, efficiency in whatever we do in the university, but also given that it's a main driver for innovation, as mentioned by the previous speaker. So as universities, you know, our main role is to train and to do capacity building. And what I've found to work is that, first of all, there's this notion that everybody understands what AI is, but I'm pretty sure in this room, maybe half of us are not so sure of what it means, apart from ChatGPT. Like, we know ChatGPT, we can chat with it. Maybe we can ask it about, so what can I do to respond to this letter? But AI is way more powerful. And what we need to do is to educate, first of all, the university, yeah? The lecturers that are around us, the ones that we assume are going to be facing our students. So it's unfair to assume that as a lecturer in agriculture or as a lecturer in food technology, for example, I should be conversant with AI. So as a university, we first have a role to reskill our people. And what we have found to work at the University of Dar es Salaam is that we started with top management, because, you know, they would go into rooms and people would drop the word AI, and then you have to pretend like you know it, and then you have to say, yes, embrace AI, but in reality, you don't even know what it can do for you. So we did this top management training, of course, confined, so they can ask all the stupid questions without looking like they don't know. And this worked so well, because after that, there could be frontiers, and they could stand and say, okay, we know that it can help in teaching, it can help in research, it can, you know, make our administrative processes much more efficient. So I think the part of reskilling, a big part of that goes to the university. Second, we need to do research, and this is more on the implementation now instead of adoption. It's easy to teach about ChatGPT and, you know, the whole family of AI tools out there, but it's about time that we as East Africa have our own locally grown AI solutions. So I know that there are some countries which have started, but at universities, we take the lead role in doing AI-related research. So we need to do local projects. So for example, we have very nice models that work well in English, but what about our languages? Kiswahili, what about Rwandese? Can we have AI models that actually understand our problems? If I go to an AI model and tell it to produce me a picture, first it will just do a white person, and if I say black, then it will use like this black American hooligan look, which is not really us. So if we can invest in our local AI research, I think that is a role that we need to do, and that's where we can get real innovation. And lastly, I would like to talk about the data challenge that we are facing, and I think the previous presenter also put it very well, that the data lies either with government agencies or with a private sector. And the problem is that we as academia always go to either to the government or to the private sector and say, can we have your data? And that's not enough. And they will say, what are you going to use it for and all that? So we need more strategic dialogues and say, okay, you see this problem that you're struggling with. Yeah? If you give me your data, I'm going to do X and Y in order to, maybe improve your process, and you're going to be 3 times faster. So if we speak that language, then we can get into agreements and say, okay, I'm going to give you my data, but so that you don't use it, maybe I'll strip this and this, and you can, you make some kind of agreement. And if the industry sees the benefit, then they're probably not going to say no to their data, because it's more of a win-win situation. I have seen PhD programs where in the end the thesis is not published. Why? Because it's, intellectual property for some company, but the company funded the research. There was a supervisor from the university who had access to the data, and they could still move together. So I think with connecting now to the business, we need to talk, and we need to say, this is what we can do with AI as experts, and the industry say, these are our problems, and when we meet in the middle, I think that data sharing will not be such a problem anymore. I think I will end there for now.
Yes, so thank you so much, Salome. I totally agree with you. AI is very, very powerful, and we don't need to assume that people understand what AI is. Yeah, as you said, AI is beyond ChatGPT. So people should start by understanding what it is, and it's good to start with the senior management, because sometimes you'll find them pushing things. Yes, apply AI, but they really don't know what AI is, and they think it's just like sipping a glass of water. So it's good to start by educating them, and also the lecturers who are going to teach our students. So nowadays, teaching has changed, and we as academia, we need to change, yeah? Because of ChatGPT, you give assignments to students, they're using ChatGPT. So, you need to know how to deal with all this. So what you've mentioned is really important, and upskilling on AI is really key if we want to leverage on AI to bring in solutions. So I would also like to call upon Marvin. He's also from academia, from ALU. I would also want you to add to what Salome said, how universities in East Africa can effectively adopt and implement AI solutions to drive innovation. So you can try to bring in the linkage between academia and businesses. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much for this opportunity. I want to pick up from our previous presentation where he spoke about the young people. So what we are trying to do at our university is not treating education as unidirectional. You allow the students to also inform you, because they tend to know more about these emerging technologies than us, the facilitators, who are trying to impart this knowledge. For example, yesterday you might have seen a solution from our university where they are trying to develop a student companion, and this was a student-led initiative. There was no facilitator who told them, we have this idea, want you to implement it. In connection to that, I recently, in one of my sessions, had someone from industry to speak to the students, and the aspect of human intelligence came up. So how are we trying to preserve the human intelligence in a world where all the repetitive tasks are being taken over by AI agents? what is the role of the human at the work setting? What can students do to leverage the education they are getting in order to be relevant in the job market? So it is very imperative that we redefine what we call traditional roles in a work setting so that we can have a more relevant and up-to-date curriculum that we should be having. I think that would be my addition to that.
Thank you so much, Marvin. And I also agree with you that these Gen Zs, they know more about emerging tech. And when we talk of emerging tech, of course, we are also talking about AI. So we can give space for them to also educate us. Like, educators don't know everything. So these young people can, and they can also use that to innovate and bring in those solutions in the different sectors that we are talking about. So now that we've understood what the academia is doing, so let me give the floor to Dr. Louis. He's from government institution, and he can also he can tell us about how East African countries can foster collaboration between academia, industry, and government to advance AI research and innovation. Yeah, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thanks, Jennifer, and happy to be here. Of course, collaboration has been there as a hot topic for discussion in the area of research. So I'm not sure if I bring new things here, but again, it's like kind of emphasizing because it has been long, but again, the question is still why is not? And even the overall theme of this conference is just focusing on partnership, collaboration, and so on. Maybe I will just talk three things. Number one, to strengthen this collaboration, of course, there is kind of policy and strategy established. I'm happy that yesterday, there was official launch of this strategy about collaboration and partnership, entrepreneurship, and so on. So from the ASA community, as well as government aspects, we should put more emphasis on establishing this strategy and the policies. So we have some of them emphasizing on collaboration because, for instance, as coming from the government of Rwanda, we have the national STI policy, and one of the objectives is strengthening collaboration with international and as well as national stakeholders. So when it comes to strengthen collaboration, making this policy. Number two, I also point out about establishing conducive environment. When I say environment, means that government should actually lead in making space, making like laboratories or infrastructure, which can enable this collaboration. And I know in Kenya, for instance, they have Innovation City. In Rwanda, we have Kigali Innovation City. So this kind of government is promoting this collaboration to put in place, for instance, when it comes to Kigali, to Rwanda, we have this Kigali Innovation City, where we have industry. In the same space, we have also some academic institution, and I think my colleague LU is there, CMU is there, and University of Rwanda is there. So we hope this can increase or can strengthen the collaboration. Another aspect, in addition to this, is also open data and the infrastructure sharing. So there is the issue also of, I think most of academic researchers have been complaining that when you go to government, we want to conduct our research, but we don't have data. Okay? On the side, the government that I didn't see anyone come here. So everyone is blaming each other. But again, I think we need to put in place also part of those strategy and the policy, the way of open data and infrastructure sharing. Infrastructure sharing means that I may be from University of Rwanda or University of Nairobi, but how can we share this physical infrastructure, even virtual infrastructure, to enable our, with the AI actually and the data sharing, you can build a same platform where a student from Rwanda, student from Uganda and the other ASA countries, they can access the same platform as data sharing and open data. So maybe the last one is also the industry and the government to put some of effort to co-found some of AI research activities. So you may say that our government is here can put some fund, but the industry also has its role actually to put also kind of co-funding. And then some activity can be conducted at the industry, others at the university, others at the government level. So it's kind of maybe here we are here to remind ourselves that we have been talking here for the past years, this collaboration, but there is a need also based on existing policy, based on the infrastructure we have, though they are not yet enough or sufficient, but there is a way if we are willing to share this, we can promote research innovation, in particular in the area of AI and other emerging technology. Thanks.
Yes, so thank you so much, Dr. Louis. This was so insightful, especially about strengthening these collaborations, and the two key documents that were launched yesterday are really going to foster this collaboration among others. And then you also talked about the government's enabling the environment. Here we can hear the government has enabled the environment. There is infrastructure. Universities are giving the skills, like in collaboration with industries. We have finances. But why is that collaboration, why is it not happening? So we really need to dive deep into this and understand why are things not working the way we want them to work. So I agree that something has been done, but then there is need for more. So we really need to put more effort so that these collaborations can be strengthened much. And of course, the open data sharing, I think different countries can think of having the online open data portals so that different data can be pulled from different institutions. Of course, this data, people need to have trust that their data is going to be used for the purpose it was collected for. We can anonymize data which is very sensitive, and there are ways to do that. So I think if that's done, in addition to what has been done, then this will help people at academia and also the industries. They will throw challenges to the students at the universities and they can solve their problems. But if each one decides to work in silos, then we won't get where we want to be. Okay, so straight, let me go to Ken Mwenda. Ken Mwenda, you're from private sector, and you can see this forum is about public-private partnership. So you're very key in this. So I would like you to talk about how businesses in East Africa can effectively adapt and implement AI solutions to drive innovation. So you can dive deep into that. Thank you.
Sure. Thanks, Dr. Jennifer. Thanks to IOCA and the organizers for inviting us to this important and wonderful forum. As a disclaimer, I'm slightly over 30, but I'm young at heart, so I hope that counts for something. I also want to say that the points I'll be making were not generated by ChatGPT. There was some human intelligence thrown in there. I think let me start by giving context on why AI is so exciting and why it seems like the best thing since sliced bread, and why Bill Gates was noted as saying that it's the most profound platform change he's ever seen. Statistic number one is the World Economic Forum indicated in a Future of Jobs report that AI will likely displace about 92 million jobs, and this is globally. But the upshot of that is that about 170 million new jobs linked to AI will likely then also be created. Important statistic number two is that PwC estimates that AI will contribute about $15.7 trillion to the global GDP by 2030. So it's a big deal. When you see the US investing $500 billion in AI, there's a reason that they're doing that, and we as Africa cannot afford to be left behind. So to answer the question about business and the context for that, I would say a couple of things. The first one is skilling. And having a workforce that is skilled, that is productive, that is attuned, and that is ready and prepared for the future. So as Immobilis, we're a private sector organization, but we're also an accredited TVET. We've been around for 15 years. We've trained over 10,000. We offer courses around cybersecurity, data science, and software engineering, and Python with AI. In the course of that work, we've had the opportunity to train corporates. So that's the first area of skilling that I would advocate for private sector, is to have your workforce, regardless of which area you're in, whether you're in manufacturing, whether you're an accountancy firm, you may want to consider investing in skilling your staff to enhance their productivity. And whether that's just prompt AI or prompt engineering, an ability to use some of these latest tools so that you're competitive as a company. The second area of skilling is, of course, private sector being able to draw from academia for internships and apprenticeships. So if, as a private company, we know that there is talent that we don't have, and yes, we're going to skill our workforce, but in addition to that, can we draw from universities and academia and create internship positions for those who've been trained on emerging technologies, on AI, and some of these other advanced technologies. The second thing that I would say is investing in digital infrastructure. There's a very exciting thing that happened in Kenya last year, which is that the government of Kenya signed a deal with Microsoft and a company called G42 to create a $1 billion AI center and ecosystem that will be green powered. So the one thing about AI is it's super power hungry and it requires a lot of energy. So one of the reasons why Kenya was picked is 92% of our energy is from renewable sources. We have a place called Olkaria, it's geothermal powered. And so this is one of the biggest private sector investments that has ever happened to create this data center. But this data center won't be useful if the skills, the ethical framework, the policies that are required to make this useful are not in place. So that's the second part, is I would say the digital infrastructure on data centers, on internet connectivity, and what the tools that young people also need to be skilled. The third thing I would say is partnerships. We are, for example, in a partnership right now with KEPSA, the Kenya Private Sector Authority. We're in a partnership with the MasterCard Foundation. We're in a partnership with the government of Kenya through the Ministry of ICT. And the power of PPPs is that not only can they provide skilling, but they can provide demand-driven skilling and courses. And also direct linkages to the world of work for young people, and particularly in some of these emerging areas. So the Kenya Private Sector Alliance, for example, would be able to say to their members, data analytics is an area that you need to be able to exploit all this data that you have, competitive advantage. So if you want to do that, where are you going to find the talent, or how are you going to upscale your staff and your people? And then the fourth thing I would say very briefly is fostering an innovation ecosystem. We've seen this in a partnership that we had, for example, a couple of years ago. We partnered with the iHub and the University of Nairobi. We applied for a World Bank grant, and it helped set up the first ever regional mobile laboratory. So this was 8-9 years ago, when mobile and mobile technology was the best thing since sliced bread at that point, in the way that AI is now. So a partnership like that afforded the ability for a startup ecosystem. So all these AI startups in private sector that could create products and relevant solutions. So whether it's enhancing agricultural yields because of how they're exploiting data, whether it's in medicine and doing drug discovery because of understanding patterns and analysis, whether it's in education and for universities being able to say how do we personalize courses and learning pathways for specific learners based on the data that we've collected. So that's maybe the fourth point that I would close with. Yeah, it's just the idea of fostering an innovation and startup ecosystem.
Thank you so much, Ken. This was really important to know. It's good that you're doing a lot in that area. And we are not worried about AI replacing the jobs because AI can do everything. It can replace repetitive jobs, and people who are doing repetitive jobs should be, for sure, they should be worried. But then some things human being can do than these AI-powered tools. So next, I'm going to invite John Matogo to speak. As someone who is working with IBM, and they're already doing a lot with AI, I would like him to tell us about how these businesses in East Africa can effectively adopt and implement AI solutions to drive innovations. And he can also talk about fostering collaboration between the industry, academia, and government to advance AI and innovation. Thank you.
Thank you. Now the challenge after speaking, all of them have said everything that I had in mind, right? But you know, the interesting thing, being from IBM, I am also, I think, fortunate because I sit in a position where I work very closely with all of you because my responsibility is actually fostering this engagement between industry and academia. So I think that gives me a unique perspective in the question that you ask. And then also working in IBM, because we're a business-to-business company, what we do is actually help businesses utilize technology for their mission. So on the first point for businesses, how are businesses adopting AI? You know, there is a famous quote when you're in this space of AI that there is no AI without IA. Okay? Now, what is all that? So I think Dr. Said brought up some very important element. When we talk about AI, there is no AI without IA. Now, IA is information architecture. And this is where we see in businesses within our ecosystem, we're still at the stage where we need to develop that information architecture. And what do I mean by this? We need to digitize data so that when you bring in this technology, you can now start leveraging on the capabilities of the technology. So a lot of data is still siloed. You might have data that is piecemeal here and there, but you do not have a full information architecture that defines how do you collect this data, how do I organize it, how do I label it, so that when I then apply the artificial intelligence, I can now start drawing all the value and the insights from that. So I would say that we are beginning to see some of the capabilities or application of artificial intelligence in, I would say, new businesses. So in some, I think from the presentation that Dr. Jean showed, in some industries, especially those that are coming up, so the telco space, the fintech space, the AI is being applied in those, and we can see it. You know, you can go get onto your mobile phone now. Credit on mobile technologies is very simple because the AI is able to do your credit scoring very quickly, and then you know whether you qualify for this product and so on and so forth. So that is being applied. But in other industries that had not developed that information architecture, we still see that there's some way to go. And now this brings me to the role where when we work with academia, we need to begin opening up this because how then do we help businesses develop this information architecture? So that point where he mentioned that we need to develop the skills, there is a huge need to start developing capacity so that when we go out, we can help these businesses establish this information architecture.
So what we do is, from IBM, what we do is start developing capacity on understanding these technologies. What is, from the user's perspective, what is AI? How can we apply it in different industries and different sectors? For those that are going to build the technology, what we do is give you, your faculty members, your students, access to this technology so that they can start developing the capability on defining this information architecture, writing the models that will begin doing this work for us. And allow me to add on to the point, because I think Professor Jean really hammered us from the industry that we are not willing to share data. I want to flip it also, because from the university perspective, I think you also hold a lot of data. You have students who are doing PhDs, and PhD students collect a lot of data. So what happens? Where is all this data that they are collecting? Why don't we begin developing repositories of data within our institutions? So if you have a faculty of agriculture, a faculty of whatever it is, you start picking up this data. And within a short time, you realize that you are amassing huge amounts of data. And guess what? If you go further, you can actually monetize this data, because remember, in this day and age, data is the new oil, right? Everyone needs this data. If you can package it well, you can even monetize. People can now begin querying your systems and pulling out this data. And this is what we bring. Lastly, one of the things that I do, apart from providing access to the learning resources on AI and many other topics, I also provide your faculty members, your students, access to IBM Cloud, so reducing that challenge of infrastructure that Professor Gino was talking about. So for you to begin the innovation, I would really love to see your faculty members, your students, your researchers innovating around these technologies, because it's possible. You have the cloud now available to you, and the compute capacity is there. I believe someone was talking about having the locally developed language models. So guess what? I make available for you a large language model that is open sourced, that you can actually go ahead and customize and begin utilizing. So this is what I do, and I'm opening up this opportunity to collaborate with all of you in developing this capacity. Thank you.
Yes, so thank you so much, John Matogo. So if you see many people following you after this session, know that that's what they want from you. So we are really happy to hear that you're offering that. So thank you so much. We don't have much time, so I would like to ask the panelists to use only 30 seconds to talk about this one question I'm going to throw to them. Please make sure you use 30 seconds so that we can give the floor at least to 3 questions. I know this topic is very interesting, and AI will make us reach our goal of advancing our economic development in our countries and all that. So the question is, what are the strategies to be taken by East African countries to effectively address the ethical implication of AI and ensure responsible development and deployment of AI? I'll start with you, 30 seconds.
On me? Okay, so I think for one of the things that these technologies, it's going to be in an open environment. If you look at how this technology is developing, when it is opened up, the utilization and also the trust for it is even stronger. What I would advocate is the coming together of players in this particular space. So academia is actually a key player. So, groupings like IUCEA and their members, they take up a position on responsible use of AI. And then those members of IUCEA also then commit to responsible use, development, application of these technologies. And this kind of coalitions, in my opinion, is what will drive and enable the establishment of this kind of thing. And just to close, as IBM, through the partnership with IUCEA, we're not only looking to make these technologies, these learnings available to all of you, but also what we promote is the development of responsible technologies. Thank you.
Next, you can just use 30 seconds.
Okay, yeah, thanks. It's an important question because a lot of AI development will be built around public trust and around data privacy, data security, and the fact that cybersecurity attacks and threats in Africa have increased 300% in the last 3 years is obviously a major problem. Three quick ideas. The first one is establishing national AI frameworks. Using, for example, the African Union has a continental strategy around AI. So drawing from that and aligning from that. The second thing is having independent advisory boards where countries and organizations bring together experts in diverse fields, in law, ethics, in tech, so that it's cross-disciplinary in that sense, and these advisory boards to just advocate for the responsible and ethical use of AI. And the final one is just find strategies to mitigate around algorithmic bias, right? So what was being shown earlier, the idea that as Africans, as Black people, were not necessarily represented because they're not diverse data sets that are being used or diverse languages that are being used to build some of these models. So we must come up with strategies to mitigate those sort of biases, because the end result otherwise is AI-powered tools for jobs or for loan decisions that are AI-driven, then bias you and me in unfortunate ways. Thank you.
Yeah, talking about AI ethical, you can look at as maybe national level or regional level. As my colleague said, you need those regulatory framework, providing guidelines on transparency protection. So though some countries have the national policy of data protection policy, but again, they should have additional guidelines at national level, regional level, as well as institutional level, because especially in your academic institution, we need to have these. Number two is also educational and awareness program, because we all talk about AI, ChatGPT and the others, but again, we need to put more effort in educating people, users, and awareness program. Everyone should be responsible to have kind of responsibility in terms of education and awareness program. Thank you.
All right. In addition to that, I am a strong believer of that we have the answers. We don't have to wait for the data. There's some ML techniques you can use to start building models even without data through feedback. So we can leverage the knowledge we have, converge them together in order to start building solutions instead of waiting. And the other answer is, I loved the presentation where we were using metaverse to try to leverage what we could do in the physical world when we don't have the physical objects. We can have cross-cutting technologies coming together in order to solve some of the problems that we are having. Thank you.
Lots been said, but just to add, on ethical and responsible use, I think we should also remember that the technology is quite new and it's evolving so much. So I'm not such a fan of policies and strict national guidelines at this moment, because it's something that maybe in 2 years will not be holding anymore. So something like we take it day by day and we be transparent in what we use. If I use a tool, I should be able to say that I've used it without anyone saying, but you are trying to make life easier. So just be transparent about how we use it, because that's how we can see if it's going to have any ethical impact on whatever we are doing. And just not to forget the existing guidelines that have. Yeah? So if we have a data protection guideline, that should still hold whether you're using AI or not. Plagiarism policies should still hold whether you're using AI or not. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So I'll just add to the discussion. And just to summarize it, I think from the government perspective, I think we need to speed up to put in place the safeguards. So this is more an open area, and as you say, everything hinges on the how quick or how easy and how safe and secure we are able to share and manage the data. and to make sure that we have really in place the safeguards to enable the free flow of the information. And I think that also create another challenge, because when it comes now at the East African community, so you see now that this type of safeguards, so it could, even within the country, is still very challenging. You could see now how it is. And to really maximize the value of the data, we really need that free flow of information, not only within institution, but even at the regional level. And I think there's a we really need a big advocacy to really at the level of at least the safeguard mechanism and those regulatory framework around the data. Because if you look at the data owners, we may have our data privacy law and this, but we really need different regulations at regional level to make sure that there could be really a very easy free flow of information. Thank you.
Yes, so thank you so much, panelists. So this was a great panel that is fit for the great audience, and it was very much insightful, and a lot has been gained from this. And now we understand that responsible AI is the way to go, and it's good that you've talked about all those strategies, all those policies, all the things that are needed to leverage AI in developing our countries, and also leveraging artificial intelligence as a catalyst for this innovation. So this was really great, and we've really gained a lot. So before you leave the floor, I think if time allows, I know people are interested in this session, so it could be good to get maybe 3 questions from the audience, and then they reply quickly, and then we wind up the session. So if you may allow the MC, I can go ahead and get questions from the audience. Thank you. Oh, okay, thank you so much. I'll take all questions at once, and then they will reply at once. So make sure you say the person you're addressing the question to. You mention them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My name is Dr. Jonathan from UNIRAC. The first is actually not a question, but maybe a recommendation to AUSEA. With all that we have done here, especially about AI, could we develop a hackathon and test our abilities from the academia, from the industry, and from the government, so that we know, are we on the right track? This is just a recommendation or something for AUSEA management and directorate to think about. My question is simple. Given the unique socioeconomic challenges and opportunities in East Africa, how can we design collaborative AI initiatives that ensure technology development doesn't simply replicate Western models? I'm happy that John Matogo is talking about an open source kind of a model that can be customized into various other needs. However, I'm still interested in knowing that we truly are responding to the local context while still enabling growth within the region.
Thank you so much, Jonathan. So let's keep the questions shorter too.
Thank you, panelists. You are good preachers, and I am converted. Now, my question can be answered by everyone, but I need to ask the lady panelist from Dar es Salaam. Sorry, I have forgotten the name. Salome, yes, thank you. Yeah, I am an academician. I am a director of research and innovation. I come from the College of Agriculture. And when you were all presenting, I thought about integrating this AI into our curriculum. But I was, again, asking, at what stage can we introduce this? Is it at undergraduate? Is it at MSc program? Now that I come from agribusiness in particular, if I want to bring in AI, to what extent can I introduce like a module? What advice can you give me if we are to have this embraced in our MSc program, for example? Thank you.
Thank you. My name is David Gete from Kenya. My question is to all the panelists and maybe to all of us, supposing to all of us. We have had the AI for the last, I think, 2022, that's when the ChatGPT started, November 2022, I remember. But now, so far, we have no regulatory frameworks that are working. I don't know, are we not ready, even trying to have the frameworks to even control the ethical use of the AI? And secondly, what are we doing to sensitize the members of academia? Because largely, we have more than half of the academia are old generation. And I remember the key speaker, the engineer from Dedan Kimathi University, said that he works with 30 and below. But we have the university lecturers, most of them are above that age. So the issue of AI is very new to them, and they only think about ChatGPT, and them that have known about it, they think about the bad thing about it, that children, the student use it to cheat. But there is the more positive side of it. So what sensitization forum are we creating so that we can enhance these the knowledge to the academia so that they can know the positive use of it? And even to the runners, you may be surprised. Even some of the students, we may think that they are using it positively, but some are using it negatively. So what forums do we create? And I want to follow up the question with what my colleague has said here. We need, at what stage do we implement it in our curriculum? It's supposed to be across, not just a module. It should be in all modules or all courses that we teach. But who is to teach it then? Because the people who are supposed to teach, they don't know. So I think, should we have a transformative ideas and change things the way we know them, that we can have a lecturer, even who can be taken to the university with a diploma, but he's good in AI, to come and teach. Because now when we expect the people who don't know to teach and to integrate it, they may not do it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So I see one more person. Let's just give the bonus and then we can reply. Yeah.
Thanks a lot, moderator. Thanks to the panelists for the very insightful presentations. My question one goes to the regulatory approach. I'm from the Uganda National Council for Science and Technology, the Science Regulatory Agency. One, we are very happy that AI can help us in assessment of very complex research protocols when we are processing the research permits. But also, on the other hand, we may have protocols that have been very smartly written by AI, and how do we go about that? And of course, we are now even trying to look further into the regulatory aspects. And then considering that this is a fast-changing environment, I want to hear your comments on the regulatory sandbox mechanism approach to see how that can be handled. And then the second one is on the algorithmic bias, where data is more available and the like. This is part of the fourth or fifth industrial revolution. And initially we had the green revolution, and then Africa missed it and we ended up in the catch-up phase. One of my worries is on that data bias, because when you look at Africa, where actually we need to focus our development is actually in those poor, hard-to-reach areas. And most of those areas are agro-based. And you end up finding out that this is also where it's most difficult to get data. It is easier for me to buy the most complex machine through Amazon, but I may not buy the beans I want 200 meters away from me, and because of that data bias. And I believe that we are talking about the digital divide. I don't know to what extent AI might bring that AI divide. And that goes also to the educational institutions. In one of the institutions that I'm affiliated to, and we provide connectivity and cloud services, we have a kindergarten that uses the more data and cloud services than more than 50% of the universities that we support. And this is the university that is providing top quality education to the top class of citizens in the country. And that divide, how do we move to narrow it? Thank you.
So thank you so much. That was the last question. Now that I have the mic, I'm just going to say something about one of the participants who asked about how lecturers are going to teach about AI when themselves they don't know about it. So, and even educating these students. You know, we can learn, like learning doesn't stop, and at any age you can learn, but the problem now comes in innovating and creativity. So you can give the knowledge, you can learn AI, you start with Python programming, go to machine learning techniques, and keep going. So you can give that knowledge to the students, and then it's up to them to use AI, apply it to agriculture, to education, and other sectors to solve these real world problems. So let me give the floor to the panelists to reply. It would be good if you summarize. We don't have time. So just keep it short, and maybe each one can reply to one of the questions here. Thank you.
If I may, well, I think to respond to the questions from maybe Jonathan and also to the Director from Research and Innovation, we run a skilling program. So we provide learning opportunities on these new and emerging technologies. We've been running this in a virtual format. And through the collaboration between IBM and IUCEA, we are actually making this training available to all of you and to your students as well. Because you're right, it's a space that is rapidly evolving. So if maybe IUCEA can circulate, we have one virtual training that is beginning next week, so we do this almost every quarter. We open it to everyone, and you know, you connect from wherever you are, and you take this training. It's about 4 weeks training. You meet online for about 2 hours once a week, and then you complete the training. Or you could also take it in a self-paced format. We have a platform called Skills Build that we provide these learning opportunities on a lot of emerging technologies. So I would address that to Jonathan and also to you. On the question from the gentleman from the Uganda Commission, yes, I think there's a lot of bias in a lot of these AI technologies. I think a lot of it because it was trained on data that I think, as other panelists have mentioned, is not context specific, right? So you saw the example that was shown here. If it is trained on that, then the assumption is that it will then default to what it knows. And I think this then throws the challenge back to us. We are then in this continent. Why don't we then collect that data and then train those models using our data, and then to help reduce this bias and all this hallucination that we see. For the point about the hackathon, 100% behind you. I'll also tell IUCEA, if you're willing to go, I'll be also willing from IBM to also bring the platform as one of the components for the hackathon. And yeah, so also to David as well on the point of sensitization, the AI training is there.
Perhaps I can just mention 2 things. The first one is I'm glad to hear that there are some converts in the room, so our preaching abilities are good. I think I was just going to say on the issue of the local context, I was just reading about how the Kigali Municipal Council implemented an AI-powered traffic management system, which apparently has cut down traffic and the commute time by about 15%. Now, I don't live here, I don't know if it's true, but it's a good use case. So AI can solve so many problems in so many local contexts if it can be customized, and if young people here who are trained on the skills understand then the local context of those problems. So I also very much support the idea of a hackathon, because a lot of very innovative solutions come out of those. The question is, can they then be taken to the next level? Thanks.
Yeah, about the regional contextualization of AI model or national, I think it is possible. And personally, I know some startup who are working on this. For instance, those who are aware in Kingali, there is Saidos is aware about Digital Muganda. They are working actually on natural language processing. So when maybe respond in Kinyarwanda, in Swahili, and the other. That's an example of how you can make it so it's possible. Coming about regulatory framework, are we late? Someone may say yes or another not. And with the speed of technology we are in, of course, regulator, we are late somehow because we want to cover everything while technology is advancing very fast. So, yes, we are late, but again, the good news is that there are existing framework which can protect our data. For instance, we have the National Data Protection Policy, which cover aspects of data sharing, use of data, and so on. So, the AI regulatory framework, I'm not sure, for Rwanda, we're working on it, but I don't know about other countries. But again, we can use existing policy or strategy which exists to protect data. I think I can stop here.
All right, just to add to what he said, I was actually aiming to talk about digital Umuganda. Yeah. Rwanda actually has large language model that can translate things in Kinyarwanda. So that's a good benchmark to have. The only challenge we're having is when you come from countries where we have multiple languages, resource-constrained languages, having that data online is a bit of a challenge. But there are a few people and key pieces that are working on that. I like the idea about the hackathon. Using it as a benchmark, I can say that we are at a good place in Rwanda, at least. Because we've held up a couple of hackathons, and the kind of solutions that are coming there, they're amazing. And about teaching at university, there's no shortcut. You just have to learn how to use the AI so that you don't get left behind. So I'm sorry that that is the reality we are dealing with.
Thank you. Maybe I can take the one about when do we integrate AI? Is it at the bachelor level or at the master's level and above? So it depends on which program you're running. So if you're running something that's not IT related, say like the example was food processing or food technology or something like that. So it's important to understand that AI is a tool in many fields, right? It's like how we are using Excel, for example. You know, we do all these fancy calculations on Excel, but it's a tool. So you can integrate modules even from the bachelor level, and you will teach it as some type of, you teach it as an application, yeah? An application that you can use in order to fast track certain processes. But if you're running technical programs, so something like computer sciences or data science, I think it's very important to have, you know, the core theoretical parts. And I think for, at least in my experience, in Africa in general, that's what we are missing, and that's why we don't have homegrown AI models. It's always like we're adapting something and then we have to change it, because a lot of our graduates do not have the theoretical background. I teach introductory course in Masters in Data Science, and end of the program, my students are also users, you know, and it doesn't feel good. Like, I want them to be creators and not users. So I think in the morning we had a lot about, theoretical, but I think we still need to stress as academia, if we really need to be innovative with AI, we also need to be people who are very theoretical, because that's the only way we will create new models, and that's the only way we'll be able to explain how they work. So I'll end there, I think 30 seconds.
Yeah, thank you. So I will respond mostly on the academia part, where just to complement my colleague here. I think there is aspect of demystifying this to mostly the academia community. I think with IT, we have know that one thing which is very constant is changes. We have been really seeing a lot of changing happening to us. And really what I could say, that the same way that we see the tools, like those analytical tools, those computational tools, there are so many, there are people who put them like a bundle of computer tools or ICT tools or digital literacy tools, from Word, Excel to analytical tools, and just to let people know how this will be presented to them. So it could be in a form of AI assist, depending on the area that you are using. It could be in a form of data insight that are presented on dashboard, on things, just for people to really start familiarizing themselves with different formats and flavors that comes as outcome of this algorithm, kind of. And at the same time, this also help those who are now in the, because there was a question of how do we now separate what comes from AI and what come, the AI part and the human part. So, but I think it is just through this exposure, you know how the syntax and the text that come from machine, when you know how to enter those prompts or those assists, it will be easy to know what is coming out of it. And that's when I think it is through that exposure that people can start seeing. You just see an email that come and you say, this is really too artificial. So those artificial parts, you can now be sensitive and see those. The same way people were tracking the plagiarism before the software for anti-plagiarism are popular, but people will still really test or diagnose those biases. But the last part is on the biases, and then here I really like the effort that ABM or all these companies are putting courses, the AI courses really out for the public. And I think it is through these exposures, just to encourage people to take many of these courses so we don't feel the victim of, so sometimes you don't know how to interpret sometimes, but really taking many courses, it really helps us to really unpack how an algorithm operates. We can still know how, let's say, a software program is built by just us exposing ourselves to these software tools. Thank you.
Yes, so thank you so much. Technology is evolving. We also need to evolve with it, and there is no any other way we can do it apart from learning and learning. So thank you so much. I hope next year when we meet here again, it will be about storytelling success. So in data science, we believe in storytelling. So next year, we'll meet maybe discussing about how collaborations have been enhanced and all that, but let's also have those success stories. And for hackathons, we can't wait for IUSEA. We can also organize hackathons at our universities. So thank you so much. That was really insightful, and we've heard about all those advantages and disadvantages of AI. Of course, nothing is just good. We have both sides. So thank you so much. Can we have a round of applause for this great panel? Thank you so much.
A round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. And thank you so much, Dr. Jennifer
If this is recognition of prior learning, I would have given you a lot of marks for being a very good teacher. I know you may not be a teacher by profession, but you have done a tremendous job to keep people awake. Hardly could we know that it's coming to 5. And I think we have all done a good job today. Just quick announcements to make. Number one is that the exhibitors still exist. And people have forgotten about them. So please visit those stalls. They are there because we are here. And once we don't visit them, then they would have wasted their time. They have put a lot of effort, a lot of resources to be here. So please, in between, let's balance it up. Please make it a point before you go home, visit them. And I pledge to them that I'll make sure I make this announcement. The second announcement is that we have tea. It has been prepared for you, and please don't leave it behind. Because again, we would have made it get wasted, and we have spent resources for that. And lastly, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for day 2. It has been a huge success. I've not got my people of statistics to give me the numbers. I thought I'd be able to declare to you how many we are today, but I think gauging by the attendance, we're equally good enough, not so? We have only done, we have discounted the journalists who came yesterday to cover up, and then those who came with the entourage of the minister, and others who have been taken away for other responsibilities. The number is not equally bad. If you put percentages, I don't think we have dropped by more than 20%. So I think I should thank you for that. You have done a good job. Please, tomorrow we still have another engagement. Come. Don't say because today is going very well, so tomorrow being a Friday, the body and the mind begin saying the week has ended, and now you want to call it off. Please come and we push it. But the good news is that tomorrow it will be half day. And I remember telling those of us who came here yesterday that tomorrow will be the day in which we shall now, after the half day, we go downtown. And now we spend the money and support the economy. So please, our friends who are from Kigali, make sure you hold somebody's hand and take us downtown, expose us to the inside and outside of Kigali, including the nightlife. We also want it. Ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together to welcome Professor Rai to come and give us the last parting shots for today. Professor Karim.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ayine. I was thinking, what should I say in this? Yesterday, my boss was around here. Today, unfortunately, had to leave. Now, today, the back is on mine. But maybe I should ask you, how is it going? Yes, I want to hear that.
Yeah, extremely good.
I like that. At one point today, if I should give you my secret, I kind of felt in my heart a purpose to the job that we are doing. Yes, I did feel like, yes, we are doing justice to the community. And hearing that is extremely good, I appreciate. So mine is very little. Yesterday we opened. Yesterday was an opening day. We just had one technical session, but largely we opened. Today, we had a meeting. Today, we had a meeting. We had 3 sessions, very well packed, about trends and commercializations and technology transfer. We had about nurturing innovation and entrepreneurship in our higher education institutions. And finally, we had AI. I think they were both, all 3, they were well contributed to, and I think we should clap for our contributors as well and participants. Someone was telling me that whoever selected these people in the panels and plenaries, she did a very good job. Let's clap for them. Now, I'm not going to summarize. I'll give you some information, but what I see, does anyone remember a number 101 today? Entrepreneurship. Someone said we should have entrepreneurship 101 when he talked about nurturing innovation entrepreneurship. Meaning we should get basics of entrepreneurship and innovation for everybody within our schools. if I can summarize to you, everything we've had today, it should be 101. From the presentation we had before at the beginning, the keynote about technology transfer and commercialization, we were told it's important to find out about emerging trends and have some guidelines that will be used by other institutions to guide them to develop similar initiatives. That is guideline 101. And then we came to entrepreneurship and innovation 101. What about AI? What a word. So we're glad we're here. Actually, one of the reasons we propose this kind of platform is to hear from you, to get some ideas on what to do. What to do to advance from where we are to go to the next level. Now, I'll stop with some information on AI. In June 2023, we had an annual conference. We always have it. And the title of that conference, or the theme, was Higher Education in the Era of AI and Data Science. I give you a challenge, go on the website, search. It could be the first international or regional conference on AI in higher education. Remember, AI hype came in November 2022, I think. So that's only 6 months afterwards. We had a very lively conference. We had very good resolutions. I always look at those. They were really, really good. Very workable. I'll give you some reports that based on the resolutions, we are developing guidelines for data management in higher education at the moment as we speak, as IUSA, to guide institutions on how to handle, to use data, to collect data, to manage data, and to also disseminate data. We realize there's a huge gap in our higher learning institutions on data management. That is one. Two, I said it in my opening yesterday, that we are proposing, and our executive committee has approved, that we facilitate the establishment of a regional center of excellence on AI. This is not like any other model of regional center of excellence. This is what we call a federated or distributed center of excellence, whereby we are looking for each partner state to establish a hub or a node. Imagine you're going to have 8 of them. They build a network. They'll be able to collaborate. The idea is to establish national hubs whereby AI, education, research, innovation will be emerging in academia. There are spots in different countries right now. We have some data. Uganda has developed a number of AI programs last year, yes. Kenya has been having some. CMU and IITM, Indian Institute of Technology, Madrasa in Zanzibar. I think CMU had a master's degree in AI, and IITM has one in undergraduate level. But otherwise, there is a disparity on these programs. Few are emerging. That is AI 101. We need to guide. We need to support these institutions. So we are thinking about supporting these hubs, establish them, build a network where they can collaborate, support them in capacity building, looking for resources, but also importance here is to build workforce on AI and innovation solutions for the region. That is the idea. So that has been approved by our executive committee. We want the Council of Ministers to approve, and we will call for these nodes. Institutions will apply. We'll work with partner states to identify these nodes. So that is one of the initiatives that came out of that conference we had in 2023. Also, another one, we are working with GIZ, and GIZ has mobilized some money already to establish or to build an alliance in AI for East African community. This is more high level. We're still talking about how it's going to be, but we think about having a high level advisory board. They'll be able to advise, including, this will include academic institutions, civil societies, partner states of ESC, but also private sector. They'll be able to advise the partner states in ESC on all matters on AI. Through the project, we intend to use some of the money to support the Center of Excellence that I've said, in developing programs, doing research, building innovation hubs, building capacity, and so on and so forth. Of course, it's strengthening the infrastructure as well. So there are things that we are doing. We are on the way, and I think we are on the right track. We've got a lot of ideas here today. The University Industry Collaboration Strategy that we had launched yesterday has touched about innovation and entrepreneurship. And tomorrow, I said we are closing. So today we had a meeting, right? We did a lot of things, but tomorrow we are closing. Although it's a half day, I'll encourage everybody to come, because tomorrow we will try to see what should be the key recommendations on the way forward. This should be a collective decision to make. So please come tomorrow. Let's have the room as full as it is today, so that we can look at these recommendations, we can share, we can add more, we can remove some. We don't want to have a lot of recommendations, but few that are implementable, that are tangible, that will bring us from this level we are today to another level when we meet 2 years later. So please come tomorrow. And tomorrow is, again, even more important day. Tomorrow we have a panel of private sector. Come, let's ask them questions. We want to ask them questions. You know, we said we bring them together, we try. They are not easy to get. Someone said we should facilitate them so that they come. Yes, we did. I think we invited all heads of associations of private sector and partner states, all of them. But some of them until today we haven't gotten responses of our email. And we were going to fund everything. So we are trying, we will do it, we'll try to do it better and better. But tomorrow please come so that we can hear from them. The idea we want to hear from what will they be able to do, or what are they thinking they should do to support this collaboration we're talking about, or what should we do better so that we can attract them in collaborating with partner states or with the private sector. So with that, I don't want to give another lecture. We are all tired. Thank you so much, and I'm looking forward to meet you again tomorrow. We want the room to be the full is there, or even more, yeah? Because, yeah, we are all have been around, sitting, listening. So tomorrow as well, we're looking forward to meeting you again in the morning. Thank you so much, and have a very good evening.
Thank you, Prof. Kind reminder, please, the STEEB, but most importantly, let's pass down to the ground floor and see the exhibitors. Please